Anna iwi haere mai, haere mai. Hiowahe. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast from the brand new Pigville Productions studio, which is looking incredible. It's looking awesome. And for the first time in the history of this podcast, we can actually face each other and have a conversation.
I actually decided I really don't like that.
Why?
I listened to a psychological survey, a study that discussed, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago. And they actually talked about the idea that although it's perceived that looking into someone's eye is preferable for people, for a lot of people it isn't.
Yeah.
And that sustained eye contact can actually not be amazing for like how we feel when we interact. So, and I was like, oh yeah, 'cause it was something to do with the way people set up interviews.
Yeah.
And how people interact when they are looking directly at someone, whereas when they have the option to not look at them. So.
Well, the great thing about this setup, though, is that we can look at each other, but by and large, our bodies are facing the camera
can look
still.
at the
so
TV.
we can address the audience, or we can look at each other, which I think is a million times better. Better connection.
Well,
two souls connecting. Two old souls.
Don't
connecting.
like it. Not a fan.
No.
Already not a fan of it.
Yeah. No.
But I do like the setup. It looks good. The studio looks good. So happy with that.
Yeah. Yes, well, it's been a long time coming, but seeing it on the stream, it looks great. So if you guys are listening at home to the edited podcast later and you want to see what we're talking about, make sure you do head along to our YouTube channel, search for the Guy and Harley podcast on YouTube, and watch this episode from there, or watch the next episode from there, because we're trying to get our view time up as well so that we can monetize the channel. So if all of you guys listening at home go and have a look, that might actually get us over the line, and we can monetize this puppy.
Oh, I forgot to ask you who that artist was at the beginning.
Heidi Mai?
Yeah.
So I don't know who the original author is of that, but it is a popular song in the Māori language with the and so the reason why I am learning it is because, or the reason why I'm singing it is because I'm learning it. And the reason why I'm learning it is because as part of the welcome to the film festival, which kicks off next month, the film festival that I work for, as part of the opening welcome, we often do a waiata, which is the Māori word for song, and it's a welcome song to welcome people and to acknowledge also the traditional owners of the land on which we stand when we have our event.
Yeah, so I remember this custom at the Show Me Shorts Film Festival, and that people were getting people were being welcomed in, and some fucking how I was the cameraman or some shit, and somehow I got in there. Remember? And I had to go, like, I was being welcomed in, and I was like,
yeah.
I like the what has this got to do with me? And you're like, come on, get into it. And I was like, why? I'm the cameraman.
But you weren't the cameraman. There's two things that's going on here. One, you were not the cameraman. You were an employee. You were being paid. I hired you to be part of the team which welcomes and hosts the international guests.
Sorry, let me clarify. I
wish
I was the cameraman.
Yeah.
Let's clarify. I wasn't the cameraman. I was the bus driver.
Yeah.
So
no,
I was the paid Uber driver.
No, mate. I'll tell you what you were, this is what goes on your CV. It'll be more
Chauffeur.
you're more like guest coordinator or something like that. You were the one that was, your job was to host and show a good time to these international filmmakers and befriend them, and you did. You did a good job of befriending them.
To be fair, I'm not. Look, I 100% enjoyed.
But of course, you had to be part of the welcome.
Driver. The bus driver was part of the welcome committee, and here's the bus driver just sitting down with everybody else. And
but you were taking them out to party and everything. You took them to Waiheke Island. You were the host. You were not the bus driver.
It was legitimately, I'm pretty sure it says on my contract, like, driver. I'm pretty sure that was on the contract.
Maybe. But that wasn't the job description. The job description was fun MC, fun host. I told you to take inspiration from the guy that hosted you when you went to the Barcelona Film Festival in Spain.
Yeah, well, I didn't get anyone any cocaine.
No, it's real black mark next to your name after that one.
I didn't provide anyone any free drinks.
Oh, I'm thinking about not hiring him next time.
I didn't get a bar to open up after closing hours and serve us a meal and feed us alcohol until 4 a.m.
No, yep.
So I really did not deliver the way that the Terra Mullins Film Festival delivered when I was over there.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you still did a good job, though. They had a good time, and they seemed pretty happy with how it all went. So that is why you were there. Now, also, that was a slightly different thing. That was a mihi whakatau, which we're also doing. This is just a song, an actual song that I have to sing in front of the whole audience, and I had to do it last year as well, in front of 200 of Auckland's filmmaking glitterati.
I remember,
and
there was a lot of complaints last year that you had to do it.
From me, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really, want to sing in front of a large audience of people, but it is what it is, and I'm pretty sure I'll be doing it again this year. Although I'm not sure, though, because the film festival obviously is reliant on what level we're in, and in New Zealand at the moment, we're currently in a strict level 4 lockdown. So will we be in level 2 by then? Who knows? Will we be able to do it by level 2? With the new Delta rules?
We won't be on level 2 by then.
When
is it?
It's a month. It's the 1st of August. So actually they're making an announcement like tomorrow.
1st of October.
1st of October, sorry. 1st of October. And so tomorrow they're making an announcement, I think, that the South Island might go to level 2.5 and, and maybe even Auckland could go down kind of soon to 3. Because there was only 20 community cases in New Zealand today. And yesterday there was 20-odd, the day before there was 50-odd, the day before there was 50-odd, the day before there was 80-odd, the day before there was 80-odd. It's on its way down. And so it's all looking quite, promising, hopefully.
We've flattened the curve.
We have.
We've flattened the COVID curve.
Yes. And I haven't flattened the curve emerging around my guts throughout this lockdown, though.
No, me neither.
Of course.
No.
Yeah.
No, well, so I think that Auckland will be at level 3 for 3 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
Which would bring us to past October 1st.
Yeah. See, it could happen, but I reckon 2 weeks at level 3. If things are going the way they are, I reckon 2 weeks at level 3, we'll be at level 2. Bam. Robert's your father's brother. Yeah?
Very hopeful. Very hopeful.
I don't know.
I was just talking about wrestling, which is a little bit different. It is a contact sport or a contact
theatre show,
entertainment sport.
Yeah.
So anyway, wrestling. My close personal friend Alex Savage is a wrestler, and so I keep in contact with him and chat with him occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And he said essentially that we are probably not going to have any more wrestling until the December show now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't hold out hope for that festival. Because the thing is, it's not to do with the even going down to level 2, I don't think. I think the organisers will make a call to do it remotely for safety.
The organisers of the film festival?
Yeah. So
that's me.
Yeah, well, you're the dumb shit.
That's me, mate.
You're the dumb shit that's all guns blazing. But fortunately, you're not the only person on the committee. In fact, unfortunately, you're not the only person on the committee because we couldn't even get our film into the.
I can't.
A man in low places.
No, I can't be. I can't.
That's
compromise.
That's the whole point of being on the festival, is to compromise the festival and get your stuff in. That's literally how film festivals work across the world.
That's not true. But it is about obviously knowing people and all that type of thing. But I couldn't corrupt the process because I'm not one of the judges.
Well, the process is already corrupt because we didn't get in.
Or
that's
maybe
a clear indication.
Maybe there was a high caliber of films available.
I tell you what. Well, we'll see. It all comes down to, because look, this was a horror film, right?
Yeah.
So you have to judge it on other horror films.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to check what other horror films are in the festival and whether or not they completely demolish our film or not. But if there's no other horror films, well, there must be horror films.
Yeah, there might
There
be one
has
or
to
two.
be.
I haven't seen
Just
too
a little
many.
bug.
I haven't seen too many, but yes, there might be.
There has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a very good festival if it had neglected that genre.
The entire genre.
Mm.
Yeah. No, well, I can't be expected to corrupt the process.
You can be. That's all you get. You had one job.
All I can do is make sure that the people in high places know that we exist and that we're creating content.
All
And
you
that in
can
itself
all you
is
can
a big
do-
advantage.
This is the big advantage. This is we've got a man on the inside. So what has he done for us? Well, he's found out that we've been rejected much earlier than we would otherwise find that out. So that's what our man on the inside has succeeded in doing.
That's not true. There are many advantages, but I can't get people into the festival. Otherwise, that would be a complete corruption of the process. Which fortunately, well, the thing is though that I could potentially be a programmer in that festival. The programmers are the people that decide on the short list of films, and then after that, it goes to judges who decide on who wins. And so, if I chose to be a programmer, then I guess I'd have a lot more say. But even then, there's multiple programmers, and if I'm insisting that my film get in and that my film is awesome, they can still just overrule me. But that's the idea behind the way they run it, to make it not so easy to corrupt. I'd have to corrupt multiple people as well.
Well, I just feel like that's the common process in film festivals. It's all about who you know.
Yeah, I don't.
Establish relationships.
I don't. Yes, you got to establish the relationships, but the thing is that all that gets you is it gets your film in front of the important people because they know you, so they bother to have a look. Compared to like all the other ones from complete strangers, right? So that's the advantage you get from having friends that work in film festivals. But that doesn't
maybe
get you
this
any
particular festival, but that is certainly not the case in film festivals around the world.
I don't know. I mean, like I've been a judge on another film festival, and again, it was really just it was up to me. Nobody was trying to push me or could push me in any way. And I'm sure there's some shittier festivals out there with less robust systems.
Sundance.
Well, I'm sure that they have a pretty robust system.
I don't think so. You just have to see you have to see what gets selected based on who is producing that thing and the stars that are in that in that movie.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bad films that are selected for a lot of great festivals, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason if you're purely judging it on the film's merits itself. But if you were to base it on the star power of the people involved or the producing power, or like, for instance, you actually see it all the time where essentially a filmmaker establishes a relationship with a festival, and then every single thing, it's like, oh, well, that's Kevin Smith. He's debuting his film at this particular festival because that's where he debuts all. It's Woody Allen. He debuts all his festivals here at Venice.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
But that's also...
It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's Woody Allen and it's the festival.
But you're also not taking into consideration that they have reasons such as Kevin Smith's films will put bums on seats, and they're
That's what I'm saying.
They're a business.
Those are political reasons, yeah.
Yeah, sure, but that's also a reason when you're programming a film festival. You don't. It's not a competition about necessarily the best films. It's about what fits together. So sometimes there might be a great film, but it just doesn't fit in a session, because it doesn't fit the theme of these other films, and you kind of want to put it together, and it just doesn't work. So that film that might be great might not actually get in there because it's too long or too short. It's difficult to program. It doesn't fit with the other films. There's a whole bunch of reasons why films don't get in, and amongst them are also like, okay, well, there's we've got these two great films. Which film are we going to choose? The one that's going to guarantee put bums on seats because it's got Kevin Smith in it, Kevin Smith's name, or the other one from the Nobodies,
or the better film from the Nobody.
Yeah, or the better film from the Nobody. Exactly, and so you've got to decide on the programming, right? So it's not so corruptible.
Well, that sounds like exactly what I'm talking about.
No, because you're saying that the Kevin Smith film gets in because Kevin Smith knows a guy.
No, I'm saying Kevin Smith gets in because it could be because Kevin Smith knows a guy or has a relationship with the festival, or is Kevin Smith.
Yes.
But all of those reasons are
not
because
it's the best film
is good.
Yes, that's fine. That's true.
Yeah.
Welcome to how it works. But this is a revelation only for you.
It's not a revelation. I'm the one that said it.
No, because yes, that's fine. But it's not.
I'm the one that said this is how festivals work.
No, you said that festivals work from knowing the right people, and and I'm saying that yes, that helps. That's a factor. But also, it's about whether your film is programmable, whether your film's going to put bums on seats, whether it is a good film, all of these other factors as well. So that's one factor, but it's not. You're making it sound like, or what you initially started out with was, it's corrupt. The whole process is corrupt. You've just got to know a person on the inside, and they'll put you in. And it's like, no, that's not really the case. Well, your film has to tick a bunch of boxes.
Yeah, the whole process is still corrupt. It's not based on the best
because
film.
It's not a competition for the best film. It's a business for showing films to people of a wide variety of films, and amongst them, of the films that get selected, there's a competition for the best ones. But it's not purely a competition, and they never set out to be like, this is a competition that it has to be done this way. It's we are collecting and collating a bunch of films that we like, that we think are good, that fit together with each other, that are programmable. And then from those, we're also selecting and winning one. And unfortunately, due to the harsh realities of needing to, choose these films and make these decisions, some great films won't necessarily make it in. And it's just kind of one of the harsh realities of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're in agreement. Corrupt festivals.
We're in it.
Corrupt for different reasons. Corrupt for many different reasons.
Because I wouldn't even call that corrupt though. That's just practical. You've got to, if there's a film which is amazing, but it's too long and really hard to program, it doesn't make it in.
But also, you could say there's a film that is amazing, but it's not but this other film by a very established director. Yeah, so that one's getting picked. That's where it becomes a problem, and that happens all the time.
But that's just practical. Like
as
like
a business,
as a business, and also just sometimes it makes sense, right? You go, this film's got a recognizable face in it, so we should use it because it's good for marketing material and getting people interested in the film festival. And so of course a film festival needs to survive, it needs to get bums on seats, so it's got to make practical decisions about that. And so that's why you might get some like American film that's got Will Ferrell in it, that's not that great, when actually this great indie film that is really great could have made it in but didn't end up finding a slot because they needed to use Will Ferrell or someone like that for kind of practical business reasons.
Yeah. That's what they do.
That's what they do. That's business.
Some consider maybe not ethical, but
it's
what they do.
Not ethical. It's not ethical. They're not obliged to make anybody's films. They to play anybody's films. They choose for themselves.
They're absolutely not obliged to pick the best films. However, the perception of film festivals that they sell to filmmakers is that is what they do. That they're curating the best films. Yeah. And that's really what they're looking for. Yeah. And the truth is, that is a part consideration.
That's the main goal, though, because they want good films, because there's no point in having a festival full of shit films. It's not good for them. It's not good for anybody.
But what is better for them is if they pick 10 good films from established directors that can put bums in seats, that can bring an audience in, rather than 10 other films that are better, but from no-namers, then with no star power, then you would pick you would choose the ones with the star power, with the ability to bring the audience in.
Because you've got to run a business.
Well, a lot of these film festivals are not for-profit businesses. So they're not even fucking businesses.
No, but they are businesses. They've still got to. They've still got finances that need to be turned over and money that needs to be spent in places, and recouping ticket expenses and so on are a big part of that.
Yeah.
So
some of them do. Some of them do.
Yeah.
So
good. Start the show.
Fucking film festivals ripping us off.
Nah. Well, some of them are, for sure. I reckon there'll be some out there, but I think that it's just one of those situations where you've got to make a film that stands out because the competition is very stiff.
To give you a perfect example of how film festivals take advantage of you, and we have mentioned this before, but I received a message from a bunch of film festivals. What a coincidence. When COVID hits, I've never received messages from film festivals. And then suddenly I start receiving all these messages from film festivals, and they're like, we'd love to have you submit your film, Asylum, or your film this or that, for this festival. And it's like, oh, really? Well, that's flattering.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, cool, I'd love to. you know, and they're like, yeah, if you could just send us the festival fee, we'll have a look at that for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you want to have the film in the festival, shouldn't you waive the fee? Actually, no, because what we're doing is we're collecting fees because of COVID. And now it used to be that we got enough people, essentially, we got enough fees coming in from jobbers like you, jobbers being me, that we had enough money. Now we don't have enough money, so we have to literally cold call a bunch of jobbing filmmakers and be like, hey, we'd like you to submit, please, because we need your festival fee money. And, you know, to which I replied, yeah, fantastic. I'd love to be part of the festival if you'd waive the fee. Oh, sorry, we can't do that. On my fucking ass, because fees get waived all the time. Do you think that Kevin Smith is paying festival fees? Do you? There is a huge disparity. Again, even that whole idea of festival fees, right, is part of this problem, because festival fees are paid by people who are not successful, right? Or people that are going up the ladder, right? Festival fees are not paid by the films that the film festival finds desirable. They literally ask those people to submit their film, and they do not pay a fee for that.
Occasionally, occasionally? Yes, occasionally there are
sure.
fringe cases where, for example, you know, we got asked to be in some festivals, and I asked them to waive the fees, and they said yes.
And that happens, but that happens all the time.
Yeah, but overall, you know, like overall, they can't do that with, you know, most films. They've got to, because at the end of the day, the fees are a big part of how they afford to have a programming team getting together and figuring out what films are going to go in it and doing all the work and all that, you know, because there's actually lots of work that goes into it all. So the fees are a big part of
poor filmmakers
that.
Got to pay the fees. Successful filmmakers, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but
you guys are good.
This is literally not a film festival exclusive thing. This is why how rich people get free shit all the time.
Sure.
You know, this is not like just specific to festivals.
I agree.
This is like life on Earth. You know, like life gets easier as you get richer, because you walk in and they give you free shit all the time.
Just on problematic thing that happens in film festivals.
Yeah, but film festivals aren't just waiving it just for successful and rich people, though. They're waiving it for a few people that they can afford to, and it depends each year as well. Like maybe one year they don't have very good selections because nobody's made good films, and then so what they do is they approach people with good films and, you know, and convince them to come, because sometimes a festival might not, a film might not decide if it wants which festival it wants to have its premiere at, for example. You know, so it wants to be at a good premiere, at a good festival, and so you've got to incentivize those good films to come along by doing things like waiving fees and that type of thing.
Sure.
Which is what happened with us, with No Caller ID on several occasions, and Demi the Vegan as well, and so
we're part of the corrupt nature of film festivals.
Yeah, we did take advantage of this, but I mean, it's all true, but it's all not exclusive to film festivals. I feel like it's just kind of that's the life. That's how life rolls. And the sooner the listeners out there learn these tricks, the fucking better off they'll be as filmmakers.
That's true.
Speaking of filmmaking, podcasting, and other things such as that, I was on the Dr. Bad Film podcast.
Yeah.
It's a Kiwi film podcast. It's three guys that, as far as I can see, like to watch shit films and then talk about them.
And laugh at them?
I guess so. I didn't actually listen to their other episode, but they presumably have a laugh, but
at
they
the
do
expense of the film.
Yeah, although I do think they truly like those types of, you know, B films. I think they're into that, you know, like the worse it is, the better type thing, and they like that type of thing. So they talk about kind of like
ecstatic to have you on
bad films, yes, and so they were
highly
honored,
over the moon,
highly honored.
The worse, the better. They're over the moon. The favorite guest so far.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm their first guest ever.
All right.
And so I sent them I Survived a Zombie Holocaust to watch. So they watched that, and I gave them the spiel about. I sent them all the links to Older and Emmy the Vegan and all the rest of it. I'm not sure how much they watched. I know they watched No Caller ID and I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and then we did it was a nice fun hour-long chat, and that's supposedly coming out next week, early next week, so probably about the same time as this podcast actually, on the online, on the on the audio-only version. And so, yes, it was good. We had a good chat, talked about films, talked about I Survived a Zombie Holocaust and making it, and touched on, distribution and older and Immy the vegan, and kind of I got the chance to use my athlete's dick joke. That's always a favorite. That's my favorite when regarding having to wear a cock sock on I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and how I expected a special sock, but actually the sock I just got asked to take the sock off my foot and then use the hairdresser's hair tie to fasten it around my penis and balls, and that it's all fun and games and it's all a bit of a laugh, but actually I caught a very serious case of athlete's dick.
How is it?
I do love that gag, and I got to use it in front of a live audience once, which was great, in the cinema. But anyway, I busted it out the other day. I improv'd it the other day on the Dr. Bad Film podcast. Yeah. So that what I'm gonna do with that as well is that's gonna come out. I'll share it on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyandHarley. But I also will upload it as a piece of bonus content to the actual podcast, to our podcast on Spotify and iTunes and all the rest of it.
What was their takeaway? What was their takeaway from the film?
Oh well, I mean, they liked it. They liked it, and they all had favorite moments. We spoke about our favorite moments and so on. So. They had favorite moments and they liked it, and it was all very positive, really. But I think it was mostly me talking. They were asking me questions. I wasn't asking them. So, what do you think of the film?
So, what was your favorite part of of my performance?
Yeah.
What was your favorite Wesley moment?
Yeah.
guys, let me just take a poll. Well, that's cool. Well, thank you, Dr. Bad Films, for putting us in the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, James Sheen on the live stream asks, what is next in the pipeline? Well, what could be next in the pipeline while we're still on lockdown is a little short film that I'm currently writing that will shoot around our flat where we're based, and actually this will be the second short film that I will have done on lockdown. So whenever we go into lockdown,
the first one hasn't come out yet.
The first one hasn't come out, but that makes it timely because now it's finished and we're on another lockdown. So everyone's like, oh, it's like you did it this lockdown, and it's like, no, we just had 2 lockdowns.
Yeah.
But it seems relevant. Again, I do remember.
That is quite convenient.
It is funny, though, that people were like, oh, well, this stuff is not going to be relevant in a year. Oh, it seems to be very relevant.
Well, I
don't think we need to worry about that for the next few years.
I think the problem is not relevance, it's fatigue. Where you're a bit like, oh, God, I'm living through this and I'm watching it and I'm seeing it every day on the news and this and that and the other thing. And I go to watch content, it's escapism. I go to escape from reality and the COVID and the pandemic.
Do a horror film about COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we did have this discussion on the podcast too. I think that people have to address it head on. So for me, I'm pretty keen on putting it in every single thing I do from now on. Because to me, it's like we can't keep watching. You can't
ignore it.
Yeah, we can't keep watching the stuff that takes place in the non-COVID world.
Yeah,
and really, that's all we've seen so far. Just about, with a few exceptions, we've just been living in and like they make another movie. Like Mission Impossible is not going to address COVID. James Bond is not addressing COVID. The fucking Marvel Universe is not addressing COVID. So who better to do it than us indie filmmakers?
Yeah.
But you're right that who better to not care about it than the whole world watching
than all the viewers.
Than all the viewers that might potentially watch it. But that's my perspective on it. You gotta talk about it. You gotta look at it because it's happening. We're in it.
It is, yes. Well, in terms of the pipeline for me, I'm doing a self-tape audition tomorrow. I've got an audition. I'm doing a self-tape audition tomorrow, and It's for a commercial, and I'm going to shoot it in the backyard using guys' gear.
Well, you say backyard. Are you going to shoot it in the studio?
Or the
which
plan?
we're
Well,
in?
it's set in the backyard.
Oh, okay.
The ad is actually set in a backyard.
Well,
so
then you may as well film it in the backyard then.
if the weather's good, then I'll film it in the backyard. If the weather's no good, I'll film it in the studio. I don't entirely know my lines. I've been working on that today. Need to keep working on that. So
It's all right. You're unemployed. You've lost all your jobs.
That's not true. I'm actually heading into the pointy end with the festival, which is less than a month away now. So it's showtime with the festival, and I've got to be motivated and work, by myself, not in the office or anything like that, to keep everything ticking over. But so far so good. But there is a lot of good things about this lockdown. It's life's pretty good. Wake up whenever, do some work, do whatever work I want to do, go for a walk if I want to. It's kind of like what it must be like to be a rich playboy of some description.
It is.
Except you don't get to go out you don't get to go out and flaunt it. That's the only thing that's missing, is that a lot of the things I want to do actually involve going out, and I do kind of want to go to work and meet people and network and get next jobs and so on.
It's interesting because in this lockdown, and look, we don't want to diminish anyone's experience. And in fact, it's Father's Day today, on the day of recording.
It is, yes.
So Shout out to my dad, Charles Pigden.
Thumbs up to all the dads out there.
A great father. But the issue is that, shout out to the fathers out there. That's the thing. Kids changed this whole lockdown thing.
Yeah.
From being a laugh.
Jezza Housen, these are parents.
Jezza Housen, shout out to Jezza. Now, he made this Han Solo piece behind me, if you're watching on the YouTube.
Yep.
I just sort of chucked that up there. And then, if you can see above that, we've got In a Galaxy Far, Far Away, which was bestowed upon me by my ex-girlfriend like 6 times or 7 times removed. Quite a few times removed.
Yeah.
Quite a few times removed. Well,
it's like 3.
What do I keep saying? Maybe these 3 times removed get exaggerated.
Yeah,
now.
It's 3. She wasn't your last girlfriend.
3. I think 4 times removed.
Right. What was this the one?
4 or 5.
Was this
times
the one
removed.
that blocked you on Facebook?
There's a few of those.
Or it's true. I'm gonna have to narrow it down a little bit more.
You really are.
Okay. Well, does her name start with S?
No.
Okay. Does her name? Oh, it doesn't. Okay. Okay. So it's neither of the S's. Okay. So then, and it's not the one that blocked you. I've forgotten. Did she talk a bit like this? Did she go? No, Harley, no. Did she have an American accent like that?
Yeah, that's her.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I actually weirdly saw her.
Yeah, that was probably 5 times ago, yeah.
Weirdly, I saw her recently.
I saw her and I meant to tell you, but yes.
So I was just like, I was actually getting some cash out for a Trade Me purchase.
Yeah, and you're like, look at me now, bitch.
And I
throwing
turned
your money
around and she was walking there with her new boyfriend, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely loving it. Now, it was funny because obviously I do look like a disheveled hobo now.
Yes.
And I was wearing my old man sweater as well.
Yeah.
So it was like really accentuated. I was really looking down on my luck.
Yeah.
I was really looking down on my luck. And she saw me and I was like, and I actually got a fright because it'd been so long since I saw her. I was like, hey.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
And she would, but like the beam on her face was just like, yeah, bitch, I fucking leveled up. So suck my dick.
Yeah.
Was the expression on her face. That was the expression on her face as she walked past arm in arm with this new guy.
Yeah.
Because, look, if we're being real, her past boyfriend, her boyfriend before that, he was
that guy
she leveled down.
Was that guy in a band, the guy before this, or was this guy in a band?
I'm not sure who's in a band.
Yeah, I think she was with a guy that was in a band that she was playing in, if I'm not mistaken. And that band actually performed at the festival that I do.
Right.
And I saw her there at another one as well.
Yeah, well, I remember seeing her at your festival once.
Yeah.
And being like, yeah, you leveled down there. Sorry, hun.
Yeah.
You lost it. But then this time she came back around and she was like, boom!
Yeah.
You fucking take that?
Yeah.
You like that? You fucking disheveled hobo?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she couldn't have been happier to see me at that point in time. To just go, hey, I want you to know I'm doing much better.
Yeah.
than
she'll-
I was with you.
And she'll be rich too, because she had a good job. She was climbing
Very
through the ranks.
successful,
She was doing very well for
very
herself.
successful.
And that was 4 or 5 years ago, or whatever it was. So she will be presumably way better now. So she'll be rich with this handsome boyfriend
Yeah.
who is potentially a musician as well in the band that she
Now,
plays
with all
in.
due respect, he was still shorter than me.
Right. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, we all know how much women hate short people.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody needs to be overly tall. I feel like there's a certain
I just said
a
one
height,
thing.
there's
Hey,
a height,
look,
which
I've
is
just got one thing. I'm tall. I'm still taller than that guy.
yeah. Well-
So Lady Blah Blah on the YouTube says good morning to you.
Good morning to you. It's like 8 p.m. here in New Zealand, but good morning. And yes, also James Sheehan says, funny I say that about the elastic band that I put around my penis, because isn't that what a fluffer uses? Presumably he's talking about like a cock ring type thing in order to remain hard during sexual performances. But I would never need that.
And you wouldn't know anything about that.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
You wouldn't be able to speak with great detail
about
that.
cock rings or anything like that, and I certainly don't own one. I actually got sent one from a university magazine that paired with a sex toy company, and they were sending out like free sex toys. All you had to do was sign up for the email or something like that, and they'll post it to you. And so they posted me a cock ring, which was great. It's far too small, obviously. Mine needed to be more like a bangle, or a necklace. A necklace would probably work with me. So yes. Now, speaking of you being dishevelled, I'm a little bit dishevelled at the moment, and that's because I'm going to get some new headshots done, and I want to have a scraggly beard for one of them.
Yep.
With a sort of a workman type shirt, and then I want to have a tidy up and a shave and put a shirt on, like a tidy shirt, and have a tidy beard, and then I want to do one where I'm completely clean shaven. And so I'm growing out my beard currently as well. But the issue is I don't know, do I do the audition clean shaven or dishevelled? That's the question. So I'll figure that out.
What's the audition for? Can we talk about that at all?
Well, they haven't told me what the company is, but it's an energy company, probably an evil one, and it is rebranding because its current brand is probably evil. And so it's some sort of energy company that is rebranding, and that's all I really know. But it's comedy, and it's a funny gag. It's good pay.
It's always good pay.
Well, yeah, and this is a particularly big one. And actually,
can you talk about the financial remuneration that you would receive if you were successful?
Well, it's currently 22,000, but my agent wants to negotiate that up a lot because it's actually quite a big, long contract. So they want it for a long time and stuff like that. So I think that 22 might be the starting point, and it might actually go up quite a bit once the negotiations are done.
And that's the thing about acting. It can be feast or famine, right? So sometimes, in fact, most of the time, you're like, I'm broke. I've got nothing going on. My life is horrible. I want to kill myself. I can't get any acting gigs. This is the worst. And then you get one of these jobs and you go, oh my God, my life has just turned around in one instant, one audition, one thing, right? And now my next year to 2 years, I'm paid for, right? I'm paid for with this acting job that I'll do 1 or 2 times within that year or 2 years, right? That's all sorted, and I literally can live this bachelor lifestyle where I don't have to actually work because this one job that's shot over a few days has paid me for this entire time period. But the problem is,
I've heard about people buying houses from landing a series of ads, and then they have enough to get a deposit for a house, they buy a house.
I could see that.
Yeah.
The problem is, it's the between times. And also, obviously, there's no guarantee that you'll get any such ad.
No, absolutely not.
In saying that, you have got one.
Recently, yep.
One of those big ones, though.
No, the biggest one I got was 13
That's pretty big.
13,000. That's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong,
I
but
guess
it's
that's
not.
a fifth of a year. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's not a year. It's not.
Yeah.
And then once you pay tax out of it,
Sure.
you're under 10 grand. You got tax and commission,
Yeah.
commission to your agent plus tax, and you're sort of, you walk away. You got maybe 7 or 8 grand or whatever in your pocket, and you're still happy with that, obviously, for a day's work. And I also got a trip to Australia for that one, which was great. A weekend away, put up in a fancy hotel, made to feel like a real Jack the Lad.
Rock star.
Yeah, it was great. Got picked up at the airport by a chauffeur.
A driver, much like I was at your festival.
Well, this guy was a little flashier than you were. He had a flash, like a corporate flash car, and also he was wearing like a suit and all of that stuff, and he was all very polite. Kenny, I think his name was.
I was not doing any of those things.
No, but yeah, so.
The biggest concern when you're a driver at a festival is crashing your hired van. I feel like that's a real big concern.
Well, I got two quite big speeding tickets when I was doing your job, because what happened was the year before I did both jobs, but that year I hired you to do the guest part of the job, and I just did the event part of the job and some of the guest stuff. And I got the first year when I was doing both, and I was going backwards and forwards from the airport, I got 2 speeding tickets, and one of them, motherfucker, was after I had gone to the airport for no good reason on the wrong day at 2 a.m. to pick people up. I was 24 hours wrong. I had the wrong day, and so I drove out there for nothing, and then I drove back and got a $120 parking ticket or a speeding ticket on my way back. So that was pretty shitty.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, 22 grand. Not bad.
Not bad. Not bad. Not bad if you can get it.
Worth going out in the backyard and playing silly buggers for a half an hour to try and do.
Well, especially because they're obviously quite desperate, because they're asking people to send in self-tapes. Yep. So they've obviously want to get on with it. They're obviously quite desperate. And so they might, that's probably going to work in my favor, particularly if I do a good job. I've got a wee costume lined up. And if we use your gear, it'll make me look nice and cinematic. And so that'll stand out as well, just subconsciously in the eyes of the people. They'll be like, oh, there's something about that guy that just looks real professional,
It's going to look a lot better than people fucking recording shit on their iPhone, which is going to be 99% of people.
Exactly.
I'm
so
really
that's
going to be
why I'm doing
responsible for getting you this ad. I can't help but feel.
Well, mate.
The production value, I really feel like I should get a commission if you get this ad.
Well, I tell you what, mate, that's easy enough to do. See, what we do is we run all of the work that we both do through Pigville Productions and give ourselves a salary. And then our joint goal is to make as much money as possible and get gigs in and all that type of thing. And then at the end of the year, what's left is profit.
It's not really fair though when one person earns $22,000 and the other person earns $2,000.
Well, that's the thing though. It would all even out.
I don't think so.
No, I think it would, because you would set the salary at a price that was kind of reasonable. Like we're both already earning money. So it would really just be a matter of kind of setting a salary that was kind of agreed upon, that was approximately equal. And then obviously you can adjust it as you go and kind of go, well, look, this is not working because I'm earning 50 grand a year more than you. But you can, I'm sure there's ways you can just take you that person about to take their extra money out type thing. You can figure it out. But yeah, so basically it'll be a production house, and all the money we make runs through the company, and we hire out gear, we shoot things, but also acting gigs and other bits can all run through it as well. YouTube revenue, all that stuff, all that good stuff.
Well, we'll talk more about that when you get this acting job, eh?
Yes. So shout out to Lady Blah Blah on the live stream. Make sure you hit thumbs up, please. Make sure you subscribe. We very much appreciate that. We've got a killer show tonight. We've got 9, 10, 11 people on the live stream, and that's quite unusual.
Well, it's not unusual if you think about they're
all in lockdown.
No one's got anything better to do.
It's 7 p.m. We're all in lockdown.
No one's got anything better to do.
And we've also got the new studio, though. I think that's part of it. I think it's people look at that in their suggested videos and they go, hey, this looks good, including T-Bird, who I believe you might know.
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with T-Bird.
I have a feeling that you know T-Bird, who's commenting on...
T-Bird's been chewing my ass out all day for various for various indiscretions,
Yeah.
such as leaving the door open,
Uh-huh.
such as not putting my bowl away, such as not cleaning up after myself,
Yeah. Wouldn't
such
life...
as filming in the kitchen when she wants to do some cooking.
Such as... So wouldn't life be so much easier if you just shut the door, cleaned up after yourself, and while she was cooking your dinner, you got out of the goddamn way?
Not at all, because
Wouldn't
then,
that be easier?
Not at all, because
that make
then
your
I
life
would have
easier?
to try and remember to do all that shit.
You'd have to put your bowl away after you finish with that and close the door.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
You never catch me doing that.
Well, I tell you what, if you work on it, you might find that your life's a lot more peaceful.
Yeah. The thing about cleaning is that I did it for a job, and I used to be a cleaner, and it is just very hard for me to put any value on, like, obviously there's a level of cleanliness and a level of cleanliness that you want to maintain, but it's very hard for me to put a high value on just having things really tidy, because it's just not important. Those things will get dirty again. And if you clean them more, you will just do more cleaning. You don't win. You don't get ahead. I mean, yes, things are tidier temporarily, but they just go back to their state eventually. And if you are slightly more relaxed and a little bit more chill about these things, all you do is worry less about things being tidy.
So
There's no downside.
I feel like there is some value to a sort of the opposite line of thinking, which is that if things are tidy and then you use a bowl and you wash one bowl and you put it back, then you things remain tidy. And you never have to clean it again. You just had to clean one bowl. That's easy. You can do that anytime. But if you don't clean the bowl, and then you don't clean the other thing, then you don't clean the other thing, next thing you know, you've got 3 things to clean.
It's true.
Which is worse, you know? So I
But
prefer...
it's actually exactly the same.
No, because then you've got to clean the 3 things in one go, which is much harder.
So cleaning the 3 things is the equivalent of cleaning that
3
one
things.
thing
One thing 3
individually,
times. Yeah, but it's not, though, because it's quicker and easier to clean a quick bowl and put it back than it is to clean 3 things. And, you know, and then once you get to 3 things, like, can't be fucked, it turns into 4 things, you know, and more and more and more.
Suddenly you got a pile of dishes.
Exactly.
And guess
Maintenance.
What? If you leave them,
you ain't doing them.
if you leave them, they'll be there again tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can always come back to them tomorrow. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
T-Bird on the live stream says, we have a dishwasher.
Yeah. That's the
look,
thing.
I use it.
Even got a dishwasher.
I use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing. It's just, you know, like, I saw, you know, this is something interesting happened. I was here in the in the studio filming. I just put a higher importance on other things in my life. That's really all it is. I put a high importance on some things, and I definitely put a low importance on how tidy a place is. That's not high on my importance list. You know, it's not something that it keeps me up at night. It's not something I really worry about. I worry about a lot of things, but I don't worry about that. And, you know, I saw a cockroach in the studio the other day. I've got a bit of a cockroach problem in the studio, actually.
Okay.
And
So it's almost, maybe it's because it's to do with tidiness.
Well, no, that's the thing. I just vacuumed the studio the other day. It's about as tidy as good. No, it's not. Some things could be tidied away, but generally speaking, the issue is the damp. The damp in the hole in the wall, I think, is the issue with the cockroach. Anyway, this cockroach, I don't know if it was actually a cockroach, but one of the things that looks similar to a cockroach was just running around on the floor.
It was a dick roach.
It was just running. And I don't know where it was running to. And then it ran onto the area where there's no carpet in the studio. And then it kind of just fell over on its side. And then it kind of just fell over on its back, and it couldn't get up. And it was just, for a while, it was kind of scrambling. Like it was trying to right itself. And it couldn't. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Are you telling me that cockroaches just fall over and they can't right themselves? Like, this is an impossible thing for a cockroach to do. And I don't know if it was a cockroach. It's just one of those bugs that looks like a cockroach. And then it just kind of fell over. And for a while, it was struggling and it was struggling. And then it just kind of gave up. And I was like, what the fuck? Is it just going to give up? It can't just give up. It just fell over. It literally just fell over. Why would it give up? Why would it give up on trying to right itself or just do something, right? So then I was like, okay, cool. I'll help it. So I'm scared of cockroaches. I hate bugs. I flicked it over on its right side. And then it just fell back on its back again. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So then I moved it outside and put it back on its front. And it fell back on its side again. And then it just kind of did that again. And I think just died.
Maybe that's just what they do when they die. Maybe that's why you often see them legs up when they're dead.
Yeah. And that was, to me, that cockroach kind of represented life. Because it was running.
It's all pointless. And
it
all
was
ends.
running. And it was in a panic. It didn't know what was happening to it. It was feeling things inside its body. It didn't know what was happening, but its body was shutting down. And it didn't know what that meant. And all it knew how to do was run forward to somewhere. Just to go forward. Oh, I've just got, what do I do? What do I normally do? Oh, why do I feel so bad? I don't know. I just run. I just keep running. And it just ran until it couldn't. And then just fell over on its side. And that's what we're doing. We're just running. We don't know where we're going. We don't know what we're doing. We're just running, trying to go forward because we don't know anything. And then eventually we just fall over on our side. We don't get back up.
The cockroach prophecy. I think this might be the wisest thing you've ever said on the show.
To
the
me,
wisest analogy you've ever created on the show.
It me watching that cockroach encapsulated life to me. And, I tried to help it. But there was no helping it. It just wanted to fall back. And, But what shook me was that it was so animated beforehand. Like, to me, if I was to imagine the final stages of the death of a cockroach, it would be, it gets slower and it stop. Like it does. It's not like super active and then it's just dead. It's slows down and then it just shuts down. That wasn't the end of this cockroach's life.
Well, I feel like that transitions nicely. That's a nice wee segue, actually.
You fucking cockroaches! You fucking
cockroaches.
These cockroaches! Mine? These cockroaches, mine?
That is an excellent South African accent, guy. That is a really good South African accent.
Say hello.
That's not.
Say hello.
Oh. So are you being
Scarface?
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing like the cockroaches from South Africa, when like they've got the I think it's from
Hello, Jason Combs. He said, "Say hello. If this is live, he's a little drunk." Hello, Jason.
Welcome to the show, Jason.
We're a little drunk too. Well,
working. Do you want one of my beers, guy?
I'll have one of my beers, thank you.
Oh, which one of my beers would you like?
What do we got?
So the South African, what's the fucking not Event 16? What's it called? We were just talking about it last week on the show.
District 9.
District 9. I'm sure in that they refer to the bugs, the bug people, as cockroaches. And also, I'm pretty sure that they also, during the Rwandan genocide in real life,
yes,
I believe that, I saw in one of the movies I saw that one of the people on the bad side who was doing all the killing was referring to the people they were killing as cockroaches as well. So I thought you were doing that, but that's not what you were doing.
I was talking about Scarface.
Right, yes.
Hockey, mate. You want to play rough? Hockey.
Okay.
Hockey.
There's not a great Latino accent either. It's not a great Latino accent either.
But is it a good Al Pacino Scarface reference?
Is he meant to be Cuban?
Yeah, I think so.
Cuban? Is that what he's meant to be? Yeah.
All I gotta listen to in this life is balls. It's big fucking balls.
Does he say essay?
I'm not sure.
Because that would mean he's Mexican, I'm pretty sure.
But man, I had some point about Scarface, but
Well,
who cares?
Well, because we're segueing nicely into a sad episode of Who's Dead this week. And I am, of course, talking about Joan Butcher.
Joan the Butcher.
Joan the Butcher. A local renowned Dunedin, well-known face around Dunedin from our home city. She was one of the sort of famous, I guess, baggos, homeless people you might... but she wasn't... I don't think she was actually homeless. I think she was more like...
Speedy's dead too, isn't he?
I don't know. Speedy has disappeared, but I haven't heard that he's dead.
Okay.
So every city has its
Blanket
kind of...
Man,
sort
gone.
Of Blanket Man,
but not
rest his soul, Benny Hanna. Ben Hanna. And so, yes, so Joan Butcher, a face of Dunedin, one of the sort of every city has its famous kind of like homeless people.
Yeah.
And she was one of our Dunedin ones.
That you ridicule and make fun of as a kid.
As a child, you are perhaps a little cruel to them as an obnoxious teenager. Not directly though. I mean, more like when they're not around.
I don't know. It was definitely like you see him down the street and call out, Joan the Butcher.
I don't know if I ever did that personally, but yeah, I'm sure that she would have received her fair share of shit. But I'm not sure what it was that she died from. Health complications from her hard life, I'm sure. So rest in peace to Joan Butcher from Dunedin.
Cheers, Joe.
This one's for you, Joan.
Now, speaking of South African accents, I did hear a funny story Matt Damon was telling on a podcast, so I'm just going to reiterate it like he was on our podcast.
Okay.
So he had to do a South African accent for Invictus, which is about the South African rugby team, and when I think maybe they won the Rugby World Cup.
Yeah.
It was directed by, I don't know if you've heard of him, Clint Eastwood. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
No, he's a new guy. He's an up-and-comer.
He's an up-and-comer. He's 90 years old.
He's one of the new guys.
He's a fresh young talent. He probably wouldn't have to pay any festival fees.
He's certainly not.
To get his films in. So anyway, he did this film called Invictus, and Matt Damon was starring as one of these South African rugby players. And he did one take. And Clint was like, cool, great, thanks, let's move on. And Matt was like, I'm a little bit worried about my accent. Do you think I could have another take? And Clint Eastwood was like, why? You want to waste everyone's time? And that was how he likes to direct.
Do you want to do a what?
Do you want to waste everyone's time?
No, what happened before that?
He was like, can I do another take?
Ah, right. So he was but that was because the actor was so good that he had gotten it.
Well, it's also because Clint Eastwood is famous for doing like one or two takes and establishing that. Now, does that mean you're going to get the best performance? I don't think so, but fuck. What do I know?
I certainly don't think so.
It all depends on the actor.
Yeah, there you go.
It all depends on the actor. Some actors are great out of the gate and they slowly get worse, or some are quite bad to begin with and they slowly get better. That's normally the two different. Yeah. So let's hope Matt Damon was one of the good out the gates.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have a peak, which is, I don't know, a couple of takes in. So you got a couple of takes to kind of, get a feel for it, and then you get some good takes, and then the longer it drags on, the harder it gets to keep it fresh.
I think you're a fourth take kind of guy.
Fourth take? That probably sounds about right.
Third or fourth take kind of guy.
Yeah, one or two to sort of settle in, one to do it good, and then one to do it better, and then it's all downhill.
And then it may go downhill.
It could go downhill. Yeah. I've got some listener feedback here. By the way, Jason P. Diddy Combs on the live stream, what do you think of the new studio, mate? Looking good, huh? Looking good. Please hit thumbs up. Anybody out there on listener land, please hit thumbs up, and please do come and check out our YouTube channel, because we really want to get those view hours up to 4,000. We're currently at 700, which is not very close. It's got to be 4,000 hours within 12 months, and we've done 700 hours within the last 12 months. So
those stats.
Those stats are, well, I mean, it's not too bad. We just need to, get the view time up, basically. We need to get more people watching on the live stream instead of listening at home. But the problem is that the people that are listening to the audio-only version, they're doing it when they're driving or when they're mowing the lawn. Shout out to Nick Zalati, who likes to listen while he's mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wazza, who listens while he's driving to work. See, all of these people during lockdown who are not driving.
Chores. We're a menial chores kind of podcast.
We're a menial chores accompaniment sort of podcast.
Yeah.
Well, all those guys are probably falling way behind. Nick Zalati said told me that he's a long-term 5150 listener, and he told me that he fell behind because he stopped having to drive to work. I think he was working from home or something like that. And so he was no longer listening when he was driving to work. And then he only had to listen while he's doing the lawns, which of course is not every week or so. So yeah, he's fallen behind. I told him just to skip a bunch and just start fresh with the new one. You can do that with this show. It is good to listen to them all, but you can pick it up anywhere.
Just a soft reset.
Yeah, you can pick it up anywhere. You'll get the gist of it. We just reuse the same jokes for several weeks at a time, have the same fights for several weeks at a time. You know, you can figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of listener feedback. You're gonna like this one, Guy.
Good.
Totally agree with Guy in the last podcast about the couriers not giving a shit.
Dangerous couriers out there.
Yep. We had them turning up at level 4 with no masks, wanting signatures, and it was all sorts of cray. That's Sam from the Chris and Sam podcast. Go check out the Chris and Sam podcast. So he's experienced the same thing.
Their job is easier now.
I know. It'd be so easy to be a courier, right? You go up, you knock on the door, and you fuck off. That's all you got to do. But it is weird if there has to be a signature thing.
Or everything's got to be unsigned now.
Yeah, right. Okay. And I also have another little bit of feedback, and this is also kind of sort of a question for you, Guy, regarding older. Now, Tyler, the website creator,
Tyler the non-website,
Tyler, the website creator, Tyler the website creator, aka Tyler Keith, who never did finish that website and give it to me. Nevertheless, he is a good man, and he's a good supporter of the show, a good friend of the show, a good supporter of our careers, and
he has a props museum.
He has a props museum, and he's even interested in getting into the gear hire game because he's got a bit of gear. And so we had a wee chat today. He called me up because he wanted to talk about that stuff. And while he was there, he mentioned that we should also, when promoting Older, mention that it's a Christmas movie. And I said, it's a Christmas movie. I said, well, how is it a Christmas movie? Now, do you know how he calls that a Christmas movie? Have you got any guesses?
I'll take two guesses.
Okay.
Christmas come early for my character because I hook up with two babes.
Okay, yep. That's fair. Yeah, that's true.
So that's Christmas. Merry fucking Christmas to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one.
Yeah.
That's one potential.
Christmas theme.
Christmas theme.
Yeah.
The other one is that when I filmed part of it in London, it was around the winter time towards Christmas. And there was many Christmas bits and pieces up in those scenes.
So I don't remember seeing any Christmas bits and pieces in any of the London stuff specifically myself.
Well, actually, to be fair, there was a bunch of stuff up, like all in the background, kind of out of focus.
Lights
so it's not. So you go, oh, it's just a bunch of fairy lights. That was a bunch of Christmassy type shit. Yeah.
Well, that's not what he said.
Okay.
What he said was that there's a scene, I believe it's when you're texting and looking lonely at your phone, longingly and lonely-ishly at your phone at one point, that shows the Auckland Sky Tower, and the Auckland Sky Tower is lit up with the green and red Christmas colours. And so he said that therefore it technically was Christmas time. Technically this was set during Christmas time. Now, on the one hand, he might be right. Yeah. On the other hand, was that just because it was the same night that you were filming the Chinese New Year or something like that and it wasn't actually Christmas colours? Do you remember?
The problem is we did film it over 7 years.
Yes.
And especially those cutaways were sort of like, hey, let's shoot a bit here. Like literally we have within this film sections from the proof of concept of the film, before we even began filming the film, some of those are in the movie, going all the way through to, 2017, 2018, and 2020?
Probably. Well, if you do,
If you're talking about the
flashback scene,
Yeah.
the pretend film within a film scene.
within a film, was that in 2020?
No, I feel like
think it might have been 2019.
Yeah, probably 2019.
So it's hard to say 100% for sure when that was filmed. I would speculate there is a very high chance that it was filmed, like that shot was filmed around December, and that's why it was that color.
Well, there you go. So we have to market it as a Christmas film as well now, he says. At least add it into the metadata, into the tags.
Hashtag Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Hashtag,
Yeah, get all that shit in there because Christmas movies are popular for some reason. But overall, this lockdown so far, big improvement on the last one for me. I've been working on my show reel a little bit. I've been editing my show reel. I want to try and get that together. And I've also got the headshots, and I'm going for this audition. So that's all good stuff. I've been eating healthy-ish. I've been exercising lightly but regularly-ish. I have not been exercising regularly, and I have definitely not been eating healthy. The beer consumption has gone way up. It's gone through the roof.
The pizza consumption that's gone through the roof.
Yeah.
The pizza consumption has been getting a bit.
Can you order pizza, or do you mean
frozen pizzas?
Do you mean frozen
pizzas from the supermarket?
Shit.
So this is the problem: is like we can't go out to a cafe, we can't go out to a restaurant, we can't order those things in. So when you have your sort of diversity of food is taken away, you go, well, what can I get that kind of replicates those things at my home? And the frozen pizza is a classic, a mainstay that I never not never, that's an exaggeration, but I don't normally eat. Like, frozen pizza is not part of my normal diet, right? But on lockdown, it's like every third day or something, Pizza, dipping a bit of pizza in soup. I'm on that now. I'm on that buzz. Got a soup, dip the pizza in.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, tonight I had soup with toast dipped in.
Jason Coombs says he got on the time-restricted diet thing and he's 20 pounds down. That's awesome, bro. And I was doing that for a 20 in 2 months, even better. I was on that for a while, but that's another problem with lockdown, right? Yeah. Okay, so Harley's leaving to go to the toilet.
Well, I'm not going very far though.
So the problem with my lockdown is that I've forgotten what I was going to say now. We were talking about the diet. I only eat between 6 and 10 p.m. Right. So that's my problem is like when I'm on lockdown, like I always stay up really late anyway. So I'm always staying up like ridiculously late. But because I teach in the mornings, when I teach in the mornings, there is some motivation for me to go to bed early. Now, I'm still teaching in the mornings remotely, but when I when I get up, it's like, well, cool, I'm just in my pajamas. Does it matter if I look like shit? Does it matter if I have zero energy for this class? Not really. So my issue is that I'm staying up later and later, and if you stay up later and later, then you're going to eat later and later. And so this whole, time period where you shouldn't be eating is great, but like say, for example, you go, okay, I don't eat past 8 p.m., but I stay up until 4 a.m. Well, you're going to be fucking ravenous by 4 a.m. So that's the difficulty that I'm having, and that's all lockdown related. Coffee, good suggestion, actually. It's a appetite suppressant, coffee.
It is, yeah. I just nipped out to the toilet. I ran all the way to the toilet, and I took a leak, and then I washed my hands thoroughly, and then I came back here, all in a few seconds.
Just trying to imagine what you could touch of mine now with those penis hands.
Fear not, my friend. I've already touched everything in here.
Jason says discipline. Yeah. Well, I've got to get on it because at the end of the day, it's easy to get fat. It's real easy. It's very hard to get thin from being like the work it takes to get thin from being fat is probably, I don't know, 5 times harder than getting fat, maybe 10 times harder. So it's 10 times harder to lose the fat than it is to gain, you know? So that's really disproportionate in terms of what you have to do. And these 3 beers are not going to help that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other day you were filming a focus tutorial.
Yeah.
A focus tutorial on the backyard. That looked interesting.
Well, yeah, so part of the Savage Filmmaker channel, which is my YouTube channel, is where I'm trying to give practical advice to filmmakers on web series, shorts, and feature films and how to make those things. Or some spiel. I've got a spiel. I can't remember it now. But something like that. And so someone in the comment section was like, hey, because I've done a lot of, I discuss a lot the camera that is actually currently filming us, or it's, well, it should be. We're recording on the worst one, but the Pocket 6K Pro is a camera that I've covered in depth on my channel. And there's a lot of people that come to that because it's an affordable camera that can give you these beautiful cinematic images for a relatively low price. But the problem is it doesn't have any autofocus, which means that you have to start focusing manually. And that's actually very intimidating to begin with. If you have relied on autofocus for the entirety of your sort of filmmaking or photography career.
All auto everything.
Yeah, that's your favorite saying.
That's my motto.
All auto everything. So if you could probably learn a lot from this tutorial that I'm preparing.
Yeah.
But the idea is it's like, okay, cool. That's been taken away from you. So here's some tips on how to focus manually.
Yeah. So you turn it right and it gets closer, and you turn it left and it gets further away.
Depends on the lens you're using.
The focal distance.
Depends on the lens you're using.
Yeah. And so if it's walking towards you, if the person's coming towards you, you turn it one way, and if the person's walking away from you, you turn it the other way.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why you would not be a good teacher.
I think I'm a pretty good teacher. I'm good at communicating. I just do a little bit more research before I spoke with authority about focusing. But I've done some good focusing in my time for the last 15 years or so of operating cameras professionally. What is the big tip though? That would not be what would be so wrong with that?
Obviously that is the action that you take when you autofocus. Or there's a few different things, but I would probably say the biggest one, and this was actually told to me by Jared Murray.
Shout out to Jared.
Shout out to Jared. Many moons ago, as he said, focus on the eyes. It's like if you're looking to focus on someone or something, focus on their eyes. If you get their eyes in focus, then it doesn't actually even matter how much in or out they are. As long as their eyes are in, you're good, because that's what we, the audience, focus on. Yeah. So that's my top tip, is focus on the eyes. So when you're looking for your focus, don't try and focus just on their head or like their whole body. Look at their eyes. Focus on their eyeballs. That's what you want in focus. Mm-hmm. That's just one of my tips. I give 8.
Ooh, it's a good amount of tips.
Value, providing value. That's what it's all about in the educational YouTube game. Jason Combs says, I like the plants.
But he doesn't like the rest of the he says the rest of the background needs better artwork. No offense to Jeremy Howson.
So
no offense to Jezza Howson, 5150 listener who sent in one of these pieces.
I love this. Yeah. The Star Wars thing, so that's a long time in a galaxy far, far away. The Star Wars thing looks like it came out of a primary school art class. I love that burn on my girlfriend 4 times removed
but
birthday
she didn't
present
paint
to me.
it.
Well, I'll say a couple of things. So the reason that I have these, right, is that we used to go to a cafe, her and I.
Yeah.
Where there was a bunch
I remember this cafe.
Where there was a bunch of this artwork on the wall. But except it wasn't words, it was like a sort of this kind of rainbow style graffiti sort of art of like Super Mario, right? Like the outline of Super Mario or something like that. And I always thought like, man, this stuff looks really cool. And so she went out and she bought this for me. Very thoughtful present. Give her full credit. And she knows that I love Star Wars.
Did she buy it or she asked for it to be made?
She commissioned and paid for it to be made.
Yes.
Right? So she commissioned and paid for it to be made. Now, the issue is that the person, the artist, fucked up, right? So if you actually look very closely, you guys can't see it on the live stream, but if you look really closely, it's like he tried to do it and then he ran out of room for his words. And like a cheap cunt, rather than just get another canvas to do it on, he just blacked that out and repainted over it. And again, if you actually like look at it, it's like it's all crooked. Like look at the dot dot dot. Yeah. It's like going down on an angle. And it's like he charged a lot of money for this. Yeah. He charged her a lot of money for this. And I don't feel like it's good workmanship.
The calligraphy is a little off.
That's what I'm saying.
But here's the thing. You
can't put a price on art.
You can't put a price on art.
Except he did.
And he did, yes. But I don't actually think that it looks too bad. Like, as in it doesn't have to be all uniform. I don't think that's the problem. Here's the problem for me. I like it, but here's the problem for me. Is that this doesn't seem like a particularly difficult thing to make, because what he's done is he's used a stencil and he's cut out in a galaxy and far away. Then what he's done is he's put that stencil over a what do we call these things? Canvas. Over a canvas, and then he's just dribbled a whole bunch of paint over the over the stencil, and
no rhyme or reason,
and then let it dry, and then peeled off the stencil. Yeah. And that's fine, right? Because that's cool, that's art, and it does make a cool effect, and that's what it is. But I mean, it's not like this guy's painting the Mona Lisa here, you know. I could literally do this.
And I remember when she told,
and I'm not an artist. I got 26% in school certificate art. I failed art miserably.
A zombie standing by a volcano.
Yes, it was a zombie
in crayon.
It was actually a zombie
in crayon.
In crayon.
How did you think you were gonna pass if you used crayons?
Guy, we call them pastels. we call them pastels. Okay, something like that. They're not crayons when you're using them in art, okay? And they're called pastels or pastels. All right, and there was
shit with a bunch of crayons, like a toddler would. And he was like, "This is gonna get me. This is a pass, right? And this is a solid pass."
Art is interpretive, okay? Art is interpretive. How it's subjective. How can you fail?
I know. How can you fail? How can you get so little?
If I completed the project, then I should have passed. There should be no such thing as a fail in art as long as you complete the project. And I completed the project, and it was about a zombie that lived in a volcano who liked to come down to a nearby village and kill people. And then, years later, you wrote an entire script about it.
I mean, there was no zombies that lived by a volcano.
They didn't know. You wrote out the volcano, but everything else is the same.
The zombie
attacking a village was the same.
Yes, so that's the story of how Harley failed.
But it wasn't just pastels that I was using. Crayons. It was also I did some woodcuts, and there was some paint in there.
Yeah, like it was like when someone doesn't want to do a painting like properly, you actually paint properly. Yeah. And they kind of paint some broad strokes of the paint. Yeah. And then they use crayon for the rest of it.
Yes.
A very lazy attempt.
Yes. Well, I was
a piece of artwork.
Very, very disappointed by the.
That's a low mark.
That was 26.
That's a real low mark.
It was either 26%
or 24
or 16.
Oh, 16.
It definitely had a 6 in it.
I feel I was 20. I think
it was 26. Yeah. 26%.
It was not a good mark. I mean, that's a real because they obviously want to pass everyone at that level.
Well, if you finish it and you're 15 years old and you finish the project, then you should get a pass.
Yeah.
Crayons.
So anyway, this is the equivalent of someone using crayons, except they charge, like $300 for it or some bullshit. And not only that, they fucked it up, painted over, and redid it because they put the words too close together or something and made the ... crooked.
Yeah.
But it still had the audacity to put their like artwork signature. Like, I did this. I did this.
Yeah.
I like it, Jason. I'm still a fan, but all I'm saying is that she did get. I loved the. I was really like. I thought it was a beautiful thought. I was like, they kind of fucked this shit up. Like, even when I looked at it, I was like, oh, thanks, this is awesome. But I was also like, but like the shit that he did in the cafe was way better than this.
Yeah.
You know, like, you can't win them all, I guess. So I just kind of felt bad for her. She's doing fine.
Don't worry about her.
As she saw, when she saw me.
She's the same one.
She made it clear she was doing fine.
Boy, oh boy.
That smug smile.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah. Well, Jason P. Diddy Combs on the live stream, he says that it's the thought that counts, and that is true. And she now thinks that she hates you, and that thought is what really counts now. But also, he says that are we going to be able to see Dune here in New Zealand at the moment? And the question is, when does it come out? Because
so I believe Dune may have come out just before this lockdown, or
not in New Zealand, I don't think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought it came out a little while ago.
I didn't think it was out yet.
But here's the thing. Have they postponed it? What's the deal? I'm not really sure. That is definitely something I would have seen in the cinema if I could.
Yeah, me too.
Because you're a sci-fi nerd.
Yeah, I do admire and appreciate a good sci-fi.
That and Hitler.
World War II films and war films in general and sci-fi.
It's not out yet, he says. Okay, I really thought it was out, but maybe that was the initial...
Now, they've just released like 2 trailers.
Well, there was a big thing about how, they're like, we're releasing it streaming at the theater simultaneously.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, the director, someone, Villeneuve, something. He did the Blade Runner sequel. He's a great director anyway. He was like, hey, I really think this needs to be watched in a cinema. Like, this is really important. Like, this is why I make fucking films. And we're all on this whole streaming buzz. And that's not what I want. So anyway, Jason says you'll like it. So on that note, I'll see you later.
Well, you're absolutely correct, Jason. I will like it, and I do intend to watch it, and I'm looking forward to that coming out. But I do have a bit of a scoop that's sort of related, which is that films in New Zealand and Australia as well are being postponed. Well, the world over are being postponed because of COVID, and so I happen to have it as an industry insider that it's looking very much like the New Zealand release of the James Bond film will be delayed. It's meant to be the weekend of the 1st of October, I believe, in New Zealand, and it's already been delayed in Australia, apparently, and it's looking very much like it's going to get delayed in New Zealand as well. So, you know, the networks, you know, the people in charge are doing this, and so it wouldn't surprise me. But then again, if they've got this whole online thing going on anyway, I mean, this director, come on. You got to... What can you do? This is the world you live in now. It's a bit like being like, black and white film directors being like, well, I don't know about these color film directors, these color films. My films are designed to be watched in black and white and they should never upgrade to color. And it's like, no, sorry, mate, you're going to have to start making your films for a tiny little screen. And the film director that can make his films best for a tiny little screen is going to be the best film director. And the director who makes them for the obsolete cinemas is going to be the one that we forget about. Although I'm sure that this film will look fucking awesome in a big 3D IMAX type setup. So I will still try and watch it in a cinema, and obviously it's going to be way better. And then do I also know about a movie called Pig? Now this, of course, stars my dear friend Nicolas Cage, and he lives in the middle of nowhere, and I'm picturing it as being one of these films where nothing happens and a person sits around in the wild for ages, and there's a pig who comes and starts and hanging out with him, and he forms a friendship.
Pig. Truffle pig.
Okay.
This truffle pig is captured or goes missing, and he goes looking for it.
Ooh, so it's John Wick 2, 4, 10.
Well, they joked that this is the kind of the other
John Pig,
the other version of that, where he doesn't go do a bunch of kung fu on anyone. Yeah, I've heard that's very good too. So I am looking forward to Pig. Nicolas Cage has been on a bit of a roll recently. I recently watched something Willies.
Shout out to Richard. Shout out to Richard Right Wing Lambeth on the live stream.
Shout out to the right winger himself.
And on a related note, Jason P. Diddy Combs comments that June has fascist themes as well. And so I guess he's kind of indicating that I might enjoy it on account of my appreciation of World War II and the fact that World War II has some fascist themes. Bernie Rao, he says, "Hey, hermanos. Just jumping in to say that the set looks amazing and just randomly caught the cockroach story. Brilliant insight, a slice of life and death that nobody asked for, but we all needed it."
Appreciate that, Bernie.
So, yeah, shout out to Bernie Rao. Bernie Rao, for those that don't know, is the writer, director, and many other things of Killer Sofa. That's right, the Killer Sofa, which is going... it's out in the world right now. It's on Amazon Prime. It's probably on Tubi. I don't know. It's out there, though. Killer Sofa. It's about a killer lazy boy recliner that gets obsessed with a woman. It's possessed by somebody and obsessed with a woman. And I am the somebody that possesses it. I play the character that possesses this killer sofa that is obsessed with a woman because I'm obsessed with her. And so if you guys haven't seen Killer Sofa, get out there and check it out. It's definitely worth your time. It got a shout out on the Ellen Show. One of the reviewers or some celebrity from the Ellen Show shouted it out. And there's the trailer on YouTube has multiple uploads from heaps of different people, and they've all got hundreds of thousands of views. So people are obviously into it. So go check out Killer Sofa if you get the chance. I own some very small percentage of it, and if it ever makes money, if it ever made a lot of money, then it is possible that I might even get a check one day. So go out and watch it, please.
Maybe it's One Night at Willie's. I'm looking for this Nicolas Cage movie.
Jason P. Diddy Combs says that tell Bernie that I've actually seen Killer Sofa and that he's promoted it in the USA. So there you go.
Boy.
Shout out Jason Coombs and shout out to Bernie Rao. And then Richard Lambeth, far out. It's the Sunday roast again. Yeah, the Sunday spit roast of Richard Lambeth. I actually asked Richard to audition for a short film that I'm filming in November for a role that he might be quite suited to.
Sincerely hope you said yes.
He did say yes. He indeed did say yes, and it is a paid role as well. And so it's playing an author, a lovable author who has written a book that is much admired by many, a children's book that's much admired, and he then finds himself on the receiving end of some blame after a child's death because the child read his book and acted upon things in the book.
Well, it brings us to an interesting topic of conversation, Harley.
Yeah.
Is art responsible for what people do, seeing things based off that art?
Well, I would say yes, and the reason why is because it comes down to your definition of art, right? So art, it's a creative thing that you make, and it's designed to affect and influence people. And so an example of art that hurts people and people need to be responsible for is propaganda. Propaganda is art and it hurts people. And so you can create hate speech propaganda and you are responsible for it. Now, that's way up the other end of the spectrum. But there's, of course, it's still the same spectrum. So are we responsible for putting, bad ideas in people's heads? And are we responsible for those crimes of those people? Not exactly, but I feel like you can certainly claim a small amount of, of it. So, for example, Hitler's inner circle of evil.
Oh God, here we go.
There was,
fuck's sake.
You might remember the propaganda minister for the Third Reich Goebbels.
You're the fucking propaganda minister for Hitler.
Third Reich, for the
That's
Third Reich.
who you are. You're the propaganda minister for Hitler. Material based on or around Hitler.
No,
That's you.
you're thinking of Goebbels. Now, Goebbels, he didn't go out and kill people. Goebbels. He didn't go out and kill people, right? But what he did do was he got on the radio and he got in front of large audiences and he told people, a series of lies that resulted in, horrific treatment of other people. And he was inciting that, and so, and he was also creating, art such as like propaganda art and propaganda movies and so on. He took over the film industry in Germany, purely for propaganda purposes. So obviously that's the far end of the spectrum, but art can be used for evil, is the point. So you've got to be aware of that.
The far right.
Yes. What do you think? You go, no, you're about to create anything you want, put it out into the world, and if somebody does something based off it, well, that's because they're a fucking idiot. Which has some merit as well.
Yeah, I'm more of that. I'm more of that stance. So the Willy's Wonderland is the Nicolas Cage film that I was thinking of, which I encourage people to have a look at, where he basically does battle with these giant animatronic puppets that have become sentient. Recommend. But in terms of art, I think this is the issue. And I can't remember there was actually a post about this. So the post was essentially that criticism, true criticism of film, of work, of TV series, whatever, has now become problematic in that we sort of fandom just openly rejects it or disregards it if it's not in line. And so now critics are sort of basing their reviews on for example, there was a guy that was reviewing Loki, right? The TV series Loki, which is one of these Marvel shows. Now, I've watched 5 of the 6 episodes of Loki, I think, and it's fucking shit. All right? It's fucking nonsense.
It's weird that you gave it such a good chance.
It's fucking terrible.
If it's terrible.
But can you imagine something so bad that you get right to the end and go, this is so shit that I really don't even care about the last episode? That's where I'm at with that show, right? And to be fair, Marvel TV shows have uniformly been fucking average, apart from WandaVision was kind of interesting and cool. So, but anyway, this guy, right, who was reviewing Loki for this popular website that reviews all these shows, gave one of the reviews a 6 or a 7, right? What are you looking at?
What do you mean? I'm looking at the person who's talking.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you were like, there's a bug on me or something.
No, I was literally looking at you while you were talking about Loki.
Sorry. Okay, so anyway, the thing about, so anyway, he was like, yeah, this wasn't a great episode of Loki. And all in the comments, people were like, why the fuck is this guy even reviewing Loki if he doesn't love Loki? What's the matter if he doesn't understand Loki lore that he would even fucking give this a fucking 6.5 or a 7? Is he fucking crazy? This is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And he got taken off reviewing Loki.
Yeah.
For giving a bad review of Loki.
Yeah.
And so the kind of this article is exploring this concept, whereas it's like, if we're not fervently engaged with this thing, we are then vilified for sort of realistic criticism, like constructive criticism. We can't say Black Panther is bad because it's a huge leap forward for having all these, for telling a story featuring African American and being this box office and blah, blah, blah. We can't say Black Panther is shit, right? Because of what it represents culturally, right? And so there's these instances where essentially fandom, toxic fandom, you might say, has now influenced criticism to the point where, or if you say like Batman is bad, like one of the Dark Knight Batmans is bad, then suddenly it's like, your review has given it a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, so you must die, right? And so there's a lot of this going on in the thing, whereas criticism used to be, hey, let me tell you why I think your film has gone wrong, and let me articulate why and give you some intelligent points on that. Whatever you take from that is up to you. Whether you agree or not is up to you. Now it's like, we love this thing or we hate this thing, but it's not real criticism.
No.
And it's kind of then becomes a lot of art, and we put filmmaking in this perspective, everything becomes kind of muted and safe because we only want that reaction. We only want that 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So we don't want to do anything because, you know, if you think about, and, you know, we've said this before, I've said this before on the thing, is like a good movie should kind of, or a lot of good movies will probably polarize people. Like, you will look at it and go, fuck, I loved that. Or, fuck, I really hated that. That was fucking bullshit. But I felt some way about it. And I had a reaction to it. And to me, that's good art. And there's no safe space for that now in this current world we live in.
Well, I think you're right, especially because you get rewarded for appealing to your niche audience. So as long as you're appealing to that passionate rabid fan base, then it doesn't matter what the critics say. It's I tell you what it is. It's tribalism reborn, as in we all go out there and we have our small groups of people that think the same as us. And before the internet, you know, somebody could release an article and it kind of went out to everybody and everybody could read it, but they couldn't all get together and bitch about it in one place. But then the internet starts, and then suddenly you got all these people who can form into their own little cliques, their own little gangs, their own little tribalism gangs, and they can all then like pounce and attack this thing in a way that they couldn't back when journalism used to be able to be, you could actually write your opinion and share it somewhere. And so, yeah.
And I think
the internet age, there was the industrial revolution, right? And there was also like an agricultural revolution. And during those times, people didn't know that they were in the midst of these revolutions. They might have understood that things were changing, but they couldn't pinpoint where they were at the beginning and end of the industrial revolution, for example. And now we're in this connectivity revolution, this internet revolution, this technology revolution, and we don't know really where we are within this revolution, and there's all sorts of crazy, unexpected, unpredictable things happening, and we're all experiencing it in real time. One thing we can know is that we're at the beginning of it, though, which is why I like this podcast, because even though the internet's been out for 30 years or so, but has been really kind of like pervasive for the last kind of 10-15 years, it's people are still going to be looking back on this period to find out, man, what were humans doing? Like, can you imagine the pre-internet world? It was so offline, it was so weird. And now the best way to study the pre-internet world is to look at people from the turn of that time and see how they behaved and what they did and what they thought about and what they thought was important and all that type of thing. And so people are going to be looking back on this time, and these internet archaeologists are going to be finding the Guy and Harley podcast.
We're back on that again.
The Guy and Harley podcast. They're going to be loving it.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, is this idea that if you say something is bad, you're shitting on it. Yeah. Whereas actually, if you say something is bad, maybe you have a point. Maybe you have some good reasons for that. And it comes back to, there's a comic where someone is sort of shitting on things, and then you good? You can have that beer.
Half a beer each.
Wait, are we down to the end of the beers?
Yeah, there's no more beers. But to be fair, I mean, I have provided most of the beers for most of the years. So I feel like this 1 6-pack you provided, Guy, you might just have to.
That was big.
You might have
a big thing for me.
You might have to suck that expense up. But the good news is, if we do this all through Pigville Productions, we can have an official beer budget, which is specifically for the show and also for clients that come in here. You go, oh, there's the beer fridge. And you just point them over there and they grab a beer, and it's all just part of the Pigville budget, the entertainment budget. But also, I'm going to be going to the supermarket tomorrow, so I might even pay you back a beer.
Okay, so, yeah, it's that whole idea is, if you shit on things and there's a comic where someone's shitting on things and then someone comes in and closes their mouth and goes, shh, let people enjoy things. Yeah. And the idea being that, like, if you're just like, oh, I don't think this is very good, it's that. Why don't you just let people enjoy things? It's like, well, no. What happened to having a dialogue and discussion about things being good and bad, and why? And what happened to us saying, like, yeah, I don't think this is very good, and not just being that default? Or why don't you just let people enjoy things?
I'm mostly a fan of letting people enjoy things, unless, of course, it's religion. You can drink it straight from there because I've got my.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In which case, I don't let them enjoy I don't let them enjoy that. Shh, just let people enjoy things, unless, of course, it's destroying the world.
It's a whole cockroach thing.
Jason P. Diddy Combs says that we should watch The Chair. He recommends both of us watch The Chair. He thinks that I will enjoy it because it's got a World War II theme, but he also thinks that guys should watch it too. So,
yeah. So, well, I may do that. What is it on Netflix?
That's the question, right?
Or Apple TV, because I've accidentally paid for another subscription to that.
I cancelled mine just in time. I got a 1 year free trial when I bought my Mac.
Yep.
And then I didn't use it at all, not a single time. I didn't use it, and then it came up for time to renew, and I quickly cancelled it. I set an alarm so that I'd remember to cancel it. But I just don't watch enough stuff, and there's enough things on Netflix that it's okay. So if The Chair is on Netflix, I will watch it. Yes, it's on Netflix. All right, I'll watch it. I have been watching on Netflix The Queen's Gambit. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
You seen this? You heard about this?
I've heard of it.
But you know what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite good so far. I'm 2 or 3 episodes in. Pretty good. I can say that, there's not really enough killing in it for my personal tastes. It mostly seems to be about chess. Seems to be about chess as far as I can see.
No references to Hitler throughout the show.
It's a coming-of-age story about a young woman, becoming a woman and finding her place in a male-dominated world, which is the world of chess in the 50s or so. And so that doesn't sound like the type of thing I would normally like, to be honest. But so far, it's actually pretty good. I do quite like it. Good performances, interesting story. So far, so good.
Jason says that she's in the lead actress. I can't remember what her name is.
Whoever she is, she's in Savannah right now filming something, which is where Jason is listening to this podcast right now from Savannah. Shout out to Savannah. Texas recently has gone back to making abortions illegal, and you can snitch on people for it or something like that. And so that's interesting.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
The Republican Party and the right wing of America is really just eating itself now, just destroying itself and becoming less and less relevant to the majority of people. And as a result, they're struggling to get voted in. But they're also at the same time they're appealing to their rabid extreme fan base, who are the people they feel like they need to appeal to. But actually, that rabid extreme fan base is becoming, while extremely vocal, less and less relevant. And so it's kind of interesting to see America, or the Republican right, kind of consuming itself in such a way, undermining itself in such a way. It's weird. We also had a terrorist attack in New Zealand recently, which was a local guy who grabbed a knife. He walked into the supermarket, grabbed a knife, and then started attacking people. Just a knife from the shelf, just a cooking knife from the shelf, a kitchen knife from the shelf, and started attacking people. And he was an Islamic extremist, but for the most part, it really sounds like he was a mentally ill and very damaged person who, admired ISIS and these types of things. But I feel like he happened to be Islamic, but he easily could have been a right-wing white supremacist as well, like the other one from a couple of years ago. So, yeah, so that's what happened in New Zealand. But the good thing is we've got strict enough gun laws that this guy couldn't get a hold of a gun. Because imagine if he had an AR-15. He attacked in a supermarket. Imagine if he had an AR-15, which you can buy over the fucking counter, in some places, and he didn't, obviously, because our gun laws are working. Not only that, this guy was on a terrorist watch list and was being watched by government agents, and so they were able to respond within 90 seconds. He started slashing people, and within 90 seconds he was dead. That is some fucking exceptional police work right there. That is a good, strong, government anti-terrorism, system that actually worked how it was designed to work.
You can't.
You say you can't complain, but actually, a lot of people are still.
I know, but as far as responses go, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I wonder if Richard Right Wing Lambeth has anything to say.
He does.
Yeah.
He says all knives have been removed from the supermarket,
Yeah.
and it's all the government's fault.
Yeah. So, well, he
I
doesn't
may have
say
added that last
he
bit
added
in.
the government's fault part. But to be fair, I mean, there's been a few times when I've seen knives on display at stores, and I've thought maybe I should just slash some people, you know. And so, like, really, it does kind of make sense, you know, like they're right there. They're an offensive weapon, and, you know, they're just so easy to use. And in fact, I went into a place, Target or one of these other places a wee while ago, Briscoe's it was, and I actually noticed, and this was, you know, a year ago or more, that all the knives were, they were there, but they were locked in place. And it made me think, we're not in Kansas anymore, you know, we're not in Dunedin anymore, and it's no longer the 90s, you know, it's the 2020s, and knives in stores need to be, you know, attached. And if you want to buy one, you have to go to the counter and go, hey, can I get a knife, please? And, you know, it's obviously that was kind of the right choice. Briscoe's made the right choice there. But yeah, so Countdown has followed suit, or other supermarkets have followed suit, so that, you know, copycat, you know, lunatics can't do the same shit.
Well, I just sincerely hope that no one loses their life over it and the people that were attacked.
Yeah. Yeah, we wish those people a swift recovery. There was 6 or 7 people.
That's right.
That were
6,
all
I think,
slashed, and they have all survived so far, but some of them are in intensive
condition,
care.
yeah.
So it's a pretty horrific thing. And all, once again, you know, motivated by religion, but religion taking advantage of mental health issues.
And the internet.
You know, radicalizing people. People underestimate the power of echo chambers, and you know, you can sit there all day getting the same shit force-fed down your throat via your Twitter feed and your Facebook feed, and then you can be angry about stuff that has nothing to do with you. And this happened to me, which was that I'd follow a bunch of anti-religion Facebook pages, and then I would see all this stuff all day. Oh, religious person does this. Oh, stupid religious law does that. And I knew, and this was all true stuff. It wasn't lies or anything. It wasn't like silly propaganda. It was just all true stuff that had happened. But I found myself angry at the end of the day about shit that had nothing to do with me. And I stopped and I thought to myself, what would God do? No, before the internet, though, would I have been upset about this in any way, shape, or form? Or I probably wouldn't know about it. If I did know about it, I wouldn't have been fed it every single day. I wouldn't have read about it for days on end, you know, and got other ones at the same time. And then I realized, okay, I need to unfollow some of this shit. So I unfollowed, you know, some of these pages, even though I agreed with, you know, what they were saying. I unfollowed them because I was like, this is not good for my mental health for every day to be told, you know, reinforce this bullshit. And so, yeah, you got to be careful out there with your social media feeds. You got to think of it like junk food and health food. And you can have, you know, healthy intellectual content being fed into your news feed every day, or you can have like nasty bullshit. And I feel like a lot of these, like, you know, people that get radicalized have nasty bullshit.
It's true.
You know, like I reckon that
you are what you eat.
You are, exactly. You are what you consume, and be careful what you consume lest it consume you. So make sure you go out and unfollow any, you know, racist or, you know, super religious or Islamic pages.
Unfollow those right wing.
Unfollow them, Richard.
Unfollow them, Richard.
Yeah. Yes, you must curate your news feed, exactly. And I've curated the shit out of mine. Basically, from that first, from New Zealand's largest terrorist attack a couple of years ago, I got rid of a lot of people. I used to just listen to everybody on, I used to not block anybody on my news feed. But then during that, there was all these people that were like, you know, dumb goober shit, anti-maskers, you know, pandemic people, racist people, all of this stuff. And I realized I got to curate this shit. And so I got rid of them all. And my news feed's a much more pleasant place now.
Yeah, Jason Combs says he follows some crazies to see what they're saying. It's good to see the other side of the coin.
I agree,
sure.
Yeah.
It is good to get that perspective, just to know what's out there.
Yeah.
100%.
You don't want to just have a pure echo chamber. You do want to hear what the other side is saying, even though
we've got Richard for that.
Most of the time, yeah. Most of the time when I hear what they're saying, it just makes me frustrated because I'm like, how is that really what you think? How can you be so fucking dense? Not you, Richard, specifically, but like people. I'm like, how do you have you not thought of this? How can you see the world that way? But yes, it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, well, it is interesting, especially because I think just there's been a lot of stories, especially now. There's just more and more stories around misinformation, right? And this is something that I teach on my course as well, is like how you can be influenced by misinformation and how this can kind of seep into your news feed and sort of start making you think about things which you didn't necessarily believe in, and then suddenly you're seeing it every day. And I do think that like there's so much misinformation now, and there's so much stuff, especially around like this idea of us having to wear a mask and how offended people are over it, and how people, my rights, my body, all this crazy stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, your rights, your body, but what about the other bodies that you infect by not, putting forth this very safe practice? I'm just so shocked in a way that how is it that it's so hard for us? Like, how can we minimize this thing? How can we minimize this pandemic? How can we reduce it? How can we sort of get it down so we can get back to a normal life? Well, the best way is to wear a mask. Oh, I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I can't handle doing that. I shouldn't have to do that. And it's just, it boggles my mind that we're being asked to do like very basic things, and that is too much for people. And it's too much for people because they're being fed this misinformation. And they're being fed the idea that like, well, a mask does nothing, so why am I doing it? If a mask does nothing, why am I doing it? And there's just a lot of that. Or I get a vaccine. Well, but people get infected that have the vaccine, so why am I doing it? There's just so much of that going on, and it's really inhibited. It's inhibited the entire world's reaction to this thing that we're all trying to get over. And I think that is like, well, that's thanks to the internet. It's not thanks to anything else. That's thanks to the internet. And I just think that, it's okay to trust in science. it's okay. It's okay.
You can do that.
We can try it. Why not? We can try it. Like, if you're wrong about, for example, like if you found out tomorrow that you had wore a mask when you were out in public, you'd worn a mask for like the last 6 months, right? You found out that was wrong. Science goes, you know what? We've done some more tests. We've decided masks don't make a difference. Okay. You were moderately uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the times that you were in public.
And you did so to help people.
And you, in good conscience, because you wanted to support and help your fellow man.
Yeah.
And keep them safe.
Yeah.
All right. Is that a big loss?
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well that it's the my body, my crowd people who say we can't do the masks. My body, my rights. My body, my route. My body, my rights people. My body, my rights crowd are the same crowd that are anti-abortion a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's my body, my rights. But no, not your body, your rights. But that's not the same.
But not those rights.
Not those rights. Not your body, your rights. Just my body, my rights. I think it's just, like there is a huge chunk of the population that wasn't raised right that's real selfish.
But isn't it?
They're just selfish people.
It's childishness.
It's childish selfishness. It's like the anti-vaccine crowd. It's like, okay, I've had the vaccine. I'm totally fine. I'm here. Everything's all good. I can assure you that everything has been fine for me. Maybe 1 in a million people have a problem.
But, one person has died.
Most of us
from
don't.
Complications relating to the vaccine. So the vaccine is dangerous.
Yeah,
you could die if you take it.
So man up and go take it, though. You fucking child. Because you're going to drive to get the vaccine, right? and you're more likely to die driving to get the vaccine than you are from actually taking the vaccine, right? But you drive everywhere every day, no problem, because you're a big tough man with an AR-15. But actually, just fucking harden up and man up and to get the vaccination, because actually it's not hurting pretty much everybody and it is helping a lot of people. And it's just so childish. It's like it's so selfish and just.
I think it's that thing though, right?
Because like, grow up.
When you were a kid and someone told you to do something, your first reaction was not to do it, right? Your first reaction was, "Oh, well, why fucking should I do that?"
Yeah.
And I feel like we, as grown-ups, the reason is very obvious why we should do it.
Yeah.
And you can science whatever you want, like. Whatever you want, there's going to be a good reason for it. But we, and not necessarily you or I, but a lot of us are having this childish reaction now to like, you need to do these things that are important to saving lives and minimizing this huge thing that has affected the entire world. You need to do it. You. Oh, why should I do it?
Why should I?
Well, what? Who are you to tell me?
Yeah.
And there's just so much of that as opposed to like, okay, cool. Well, good. I'll fucking wear them. Like, even I just don't understand it because it's like I've been out, like I've been going for runs and stuff. I keep a mask on the whole time just because I feel like it's responsible because A, I'm running and I'm breathing hard and we've now established this Delta variant is all airborne. It's all to do with breathing. So whether or not I could get it or I could give it to someone, this is just a common sense practice to do. Mm-hmm. Do I like having a mask on my face? Absolutely not. Could I get by with like, walking around people 2 meters and making sure? Yeah, of course I could. But to me, I'm like doing something that is just more socially responsible. Mm-hmm. That's all. Whether it's totally meaningless or not, whether like masks don't work or not, whether it's all bullshit or not, that's just a socially responsible thing to do. So where is the harm? It's like, yeah, of course I've got to breathe my bad breath for the 20 minutes that I go on that run and it's itching my face and it's like, really? Those inconveniences are worth more than the potential of if you're wrong. If you're wrong as an anti-vaxxer or anti-masker or anti-pandemicer. Like, even if I didn't believe in any of this shit, I think, do it anyway. Just like, even if I was like one of those people, I'd do it because I'm like, look, this is total bullshit, but who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Because it's so little effort for me. But anyway.
Well, there you go. People. Good news, everybody. We got 100 comments on this live stream. It's all Jason Coombs.
We appreciate
shout out to
that.
Jason. Thanks. Richard's chucked in a few as well. So let's not forget that. And there was a couple earlier on as well. But 100 comments on this episode. And we've been averaging 5 to 10, even 11 viewers at one point. So hell, we've gone viral.
We've blown up.
Hey, Mum, we've gone viral.
It's only taken 5 years.
I know, that is cool. Thanks, Mum. Yeah. Well, look, seeing as we've gone viral, thanks to Jason P. Diddy Combs, I'm all out of notes. I'm happy to keep chatting. I'm, of course, happy to keep chatting. I got nowhere to be, and the studio's great. I like it in here.
I got a note from my girlfriend. She said I need to stop looking at the monitor because the monitor is just away from us.
I've noticed you staring at the monitor the entire show.
You need to look at the actual camera.
Yeah. It's a fair criticism. I'm lucky because the monitor is. I have to make an effort to look at the monitor, whereas it's right in front of your face.
So speaking of things we've watched, I have watched 2 films recently: The Howling and Silver Bullet, 2 werewolf movies.
Okay, while you talk about those, I'll just say to Jason P. Diddy Combs that if he wants us to keep recording, which he does, because it's Saturday night in Savannah and he's drunk, then he should give us some very good listener topics.
according to physicians, it's not recommended to wear a mask during exercise as it can cause restricted breathing and cause you to pass out, which people have been doing all over England.
That's what Richard Lambeth says.
Well, I'd rather pass out, Richard, than pass it on.
Ooh. Also, yeah. No, that's nice. I like that. I like that. And also, I mean, according to physicians, sounds a little broad to me, a little vague. Physicians? Which physicians? The good ones or the bad ones?
Yeah, so I've watched Moon Knight.
Yes.
Moon Knight. Haven't seen Moon Knight. But I have seen Silver Bullet and The Howling because I'm watching werewolves movies at the moment because we're contemplating doing a werewolf short film.
Yeah.
And what I have to say about that is, damn, I miss the 80s for movies after watching that. Like, the first thing that happens in The Howling, this is not a spoiler, right? But a news reporter goes into, like, a porn shop, and then she is accosted by a man in one of these, like, peep booths, and then she has this traumatic experience where she can't, like, remember exactly what happened. Spoiler alert, he turns into a werewolf, okay? And there's, she's watching this pornography on the thing. That's how the movie starts. That's just a regular horror film, right? And then we go on from there to more werewolf shenanigans. And it's a really good film. I highly recommend you watch it if you haven't seen it. Like a classic piece of 80s. I hadn't seen that one before. But yeah, so that's The Howling. And that has one of the best transformation werewolf scenes as well. I know we always talk about an American Werewolf in London having a great transformation scene. But in the 80s, it was like they were all trying to outdo themselves with these transformation werewolf scenes. And The Howling maybe actually does it. It's pretty good shit.
I'll tell you the best transformation scene where a person goes from, hairy and all that is the Super Saiyan shit.
Well, you don't go from hairy to you go from hairy to blonde hairy.
To blonde hairy, but it is still a transition. It's a transition from a normal human into something more.
Yeah.
And that's on the Pigville YouTube channel. Go and search for the Super Saiyan shit. I turn Super Saiyan and all my back hair goes blonde. It's hilarious stuff.
Richard says that film, The Howling, scared the crap out of him in intermediate. The other one, Silver Bullet, which I think is actually better from a story point of view, but maybe not as good overall in terms of a werewolf point of view, but definitely worth a watch, is based on a Stephen King novel. And you cannot beat Stephen King for character. Like, if you're looking for interesting, good characters, Stephen King can write the shit out of a character.
Have you seen the film that Stephen King directed?
No, the one about the cars that come to life and kill people.
This was.
Or is that Christine? That's just one car.
You might be thinking of Christine, and that's not.
That's just one car. That's John Carpenter.
That's not Stephen King. Stephen King, during his cocaine years, did direct a film. And that film was called... Yes.
Yeah.
Film directed. Just Googling that. I need my technical producer on hand for this. Maximum Overdrive, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that it? Maximum Overdrive?
Yeah, that's the one he directed.
Yes. So Maximum Overdrive. Although it says he just... I'm not sure. Anyway, I was just wondering if you had seen it.
No, I hadn't seen it, but what I had heard is that was in Stephen King's coked out of his head alcoholic phase.
Yeah.
And he was basically like, that's where I was at when I was making that. And
Yeah.
that movie reflects that mental state.
Yeah.
And it is not good.
Yes.
And so I took Stephen King's advice about his own film.
And didn't watch
and
it.
did not watch it.
Well, so I mentioned that last week I was on an episode of Dr. Bad Film.
Yeah.
The podcast, New Zealand podcast, and that's coming out this week, and I'm going to share it on the Guy and Harley Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, if you want to listen to it. And next week after my episode, those guys, these 3 guys that like to watch kind of like bad films and then talk about them on the show, they are watching Maximum Overdrive, the 1986 American science fiction action horror film written and directed by Stephen King.
We're in high company.
We are.
You watch I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and then you watch Stephen King.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Stephen King's only film that he ever directed. But I highly recommend both those werewolf films. Silver Bullet for me, it's good shit. He has a way with character, but like even if you think, I don't know if you've read The Stand, Harley.
No, I haven't read that. Is that a Stephen King book?
It is a Stephen King book. And
can I tell you the only Stephen King thing I ever read?
The Running Man?
No, it was called... Oh, no, I did read that. Is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Under a pseudonym.
I did read The Running Man, and this book came out in like the 80s, right? So this is a spoiler alert for The Running Man. Right? Now, The Running Man, the movie, we've all seen it, okay?
With Arnie.
I
actually have only seen half of it.
You haven't seen the whole Running Man? Holy shitballs. You got to watch that, mate. Well, this is kind of a spoiler then.
Well, shit. It's one of those 30 years too late type of things.
Yeah, well, you should probably watch that. It's a great film. I've seen it so many times. That's weird. That's a weird situation where you and I have
the
reversed.
only time it's ever happened.
We've reversed, yeah. That's a great film.
Only time in the history of the podcast where Harley has watched a classic film that I have not.
A number of times, and you only just gave it a half-assed go.
Yeah, I gave it a half a chance.
So... I watched this year. It's the movie. I liked the movie when I was a kid. I watched it a bunch of times. And then later in my 20s, I decided to read the book. And I was reading the book. And this is the spoiler, okay? Everybody, this is the spoiler. But this book is 30 years old, so I don't know. I was reading the book, and I said to somebody, I'm reading the Running Man book at the moment. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's cool how... I know the one where at the very end of the book he flies his plane into the broadcasting building, and I was like, he does what? I'm sorry, he does what?
So,
excuse me, he does what? Because he doesn't do that in the movie.
No.
So it doesn't happen in the movie.
So I've read the book.
Oh, you have read the book?
I've read the book, yeah.
Ah, was it you? No, it wasn't you.
I don't think it was me, no.
Okay, so you've read the book at least.
I've read the book.
Okay, I'm with you. So, yeah, when I was reading the book, though, this guy, what a cunt. Like, this was somebody who I was kind of like friends with at the time, but not after that. I was like, I could not believe that this...
The friendship was over.
Basically, because this person literally looked me in the eye and told me the end of the book that I just told him I was reading. Who the fuck does that? And then I read it and I was like, I hope he was joking. I hope he was joking. I hope he was joking. And then I got to the end and I was like, and then he goes to an airport and I was like, oh, what the fuck? And then he starts flying an airplane and I was like, well, what the fuck? And then he flies it into a building and I'm like, well, what the fuck, man? Who does that? What a cunt.
There's a lot of people out there that like to do that, though.
Yeah. I'm the anti-spoiler warrior. I hate spoilers.
Yeah, I know. It's really annoying when we want to get to something. We want to get to a movie that's been out for years.
We had
to. Oh, steady on, guys.
We had to talk.
Steady on, guys.
We had to talk spoilers on Dr. Bad Film, the Dr. Bad Film podcast about I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, and I wasn't really comfortable with that either because the whole point of doing the podcast is to tell people to go and watch it. But then we're discussing things like what would you do in a sequel, and you can't discuss what you'd do in a sequel without discussing where the film ends. And what's your favorite part? Well, you've got to explain kind of what's happening and then talk about your favorite part in order to explain it, so there's definitely a bunch of spoilers in that as well.
So Jason recommends Stephen King's book, which is called On Writing, which is a great read.
Yeah. And
I agree. In fact, I own that book. I believe it is somewhere just over there on my stack of shelves, On Writing. But yes, it is a great book. And Richard Lambeth says Christine is a magnificent film. That's a Stephen King film, or it's actually a film by John Carpenter based on a book. But it is really quite underrated, that film, both in John Carpenter's career and as a Stephen King book. So, I haven't seen The Running Man. Hey, Richard, at least he can't believe that I haven't seen The Running Man, Richard. And it's like, look, at least I read the book.
Yeah.
If you could catch me with my pants down if I hadn't done neither.
No, that's true.
But I've done one.
You redeemed yourself.
Which took more effort
than
the second one, which is just to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Which I did watch some part of.
Sort of. Yeah.
I feel like he goes down like a water slide type tunnel thing and comes out somewhere.
Yeah, he comes out in the Undercity of New York.
That's where I got to in the movie.
That's basically the beginning of the movie. So he gets arrested. He gets put on the show, and
Jesse
then
Ventura, the governor, is in it as well. Famous wrestler, is also in that as like a television presenter, maybe.
Okay, so you definitely want to watch it so that you see what happens to him at the end. Yeah, you got to watch it, mate. Yeah, well, I didn't quite finish the Stephen King reading. The only other thing other than Running Man that I read was I read a little bit when I was a kid of Tricycle.
What?
So he's got a book called Tricycle.
Yeah.
And the subtitle or the catchphrase or whatever you call it is Tricycle. The squeak of its wheels is the music of death. And it's, I think it's a kid that rides around on a tricycle and kills people. But I didn't read it. I obviously just read the back cover and looked at the cover, and it really stuck with me as a kid.
Well, you know, Stephen King's book, The Stand, is maybe his most famous book. And I've only read, I think, 3 of his books, which was The Running Man, The Stand, and one other that he did as part of when he was writing under a pseudonym.
Well, what about It?
No, I didn't read the book. I just watched both.
Right. Well, I would say that It is his more famous book.
The Stand is, I believe, his best-selling book of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought it'd be It or that one about the lady in the woods.
Cujo.
What's that one with the lady in the woods and the guy who's a car crash? He has a car crash. He's an author. He's a writer. That's a Stephen King, isn't it?
Misery.
Misery.
Yeah, Misery is maybe it is the new version of it is his most successful film. Before that, it would have been Misery. But anyway, The Stand is about a plague. It's about which they call Captain Trips, which is essentially like COVID, right? But it's much more deadly. So it essentially wipes out, it really wipes out the whole population. And then it's about the few people who are not wiped out by it.
Yeah. So it's a feel-good story.
Well, it's one of those ones where you're like, holy shit, it's like he looked at the future sort of thing. Not exactly, obviously, because it's more extreme, but it's not that far away, except towards the end where shit gets a bit crazy in the book. But anyway, they've released 2 TV series around that as well, that are based. I've watched the first, the 90s TV series on it, but I haven't watched The Stand yet. But for example, in that, Stephen King does one of the characters is an African-American woman who's 100 years old and has experienced slavery and all this different stuff, right? And I really do wonder, and obviously he wrote this book in the 90s, I'm assuming, or maybe late 80s, probably 90s. Is he even allowed to write those characters anymore? And that is my going back to this art and all this sort of thing is would he come now under fire for writing a character like that because he doesn't understand it because he hasn't experienced it, blah, blah, blah. And it's isn't that what you meant to do as a writer? Write outside of yourself. I spoke with a producer recently and they were sort of how, they didn't understand how I could essentially not write a white male privileged role. And it's well, isn't that a good writer? Isn't that the whole point, is that he has the ability to put himself in other people's shoes? And if we vilify people for doing that, man, fucking books are fucked. If you and I just have to write about us.
We can only write stories about being white and middle class.
Yeah.
And these are stories that nobody wants us to write because nobody wants to hear about white middle class people doing their white middle class shit.
And it's
male middle class, middle age shit.
Also, if you look back at some of the best books, it's they're written by someone who had nothing to do with those characters. They were that. They were that kind of white privileged middle class or middle class or whatever, and they wrote about something entirely different to that. And now we're in this kind of, you can't write about that stuff. You don't have any, so we need to shit on that. So anyway, Jason says, watch The Chair. I will watch it, Jason. I'm going to watch it.
Well, if it's on Netflix, I might actually watch it.
But yeah, it is inhabiting someone else. Writing from outside of your perspective. That's the whole fucking point. So yeah. Oh, well, look, I think we should wrap this up.
Yep.
Because I got to take another piss.
Yep.
And I've got some actual work to do too.
Yep. Yeah, well, I've got a big day to plan tomorrow. All sorts of stuff to do. No, I do, really. I've got to do my audition.
Yeah.
I've got to go grocery shopping. And I've got a number...
The grocery shopping needs a lot of thought.
I've got to write a list. Got to write a list.
Speaking of late eating.
Yeah.
Guaranteed pizza after this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had my soup and toast before the show, so I might be okay. And also, I'm out of food, basically, so I don't have too much choice. So I'll pop over to your place for a slice of pizza.
Oh, there's none to spare, mate.
Oh. Well, I'll just starve to death then. All right. Well, on that note, we will wrap it up. The first episode from the new podcast, Jason P. Diddy Combs said that we need a whiskey sponsor for the show, and he sponsored an episode a wee while back where he sent us some Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey whiskey, and it was excellent. We loved it. If anybody else out there would like to sponsor us for the show, because Guy had to pay for the beers tonight, all you've got to do is you've got options. You can go to paypal.com and use the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com. If you use that email address, pigvilleproductions@gmail.com on PayPal, you can make a donation of a few bucks or a few more bucks, whatever you want, for our booze supply on the show, and we will shout you out on the show, and we will also buy whatever it is that you tell us to buy with that if you care what we buy. Otherwise, we'll just buy whatever we want. So
we'll buy alcohol of their choosing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we'll buy alcohol of their choosing if they specify.
If they fund the alcohol.
Yes, and if they specify that that's what they want. Otherwise, they can just go to Pigville. They go to PayPal and use the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com and give us a random donation, which will go towards the booze fund to help reimburse Guy for these. He bought 6 beers for $20 because he bought fancy ones, and now he's regretting that because he had to give me 3.5 of them.
I mean, if you look at these again, just reinforces
his theory from last week.
The graphic.
Yeah, his theory from last week.
The graphic. They're all different. They're all multicolored. They're expensive. It's expensive to print. Like, look at this. We've got purple in here, right? We've got purple. We've got orange. We've got green. And this is like, I mean, yeah, the extravagant, decadent labeling is costing us, the consumer, money. I mean, look at this.
Look at the box.
Do you know how much it costs to print all that stuff? If you keep it to 2 colors, super cheap.
Yeah. Well, Brothers Beer. I actually know somebody that used to work there. It's a brewery in Auckland, and I used to go in there and drink beers because she worked there, but she stopped working there, so I stopped going in. But yes, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, Pigville on Patreon. So you go patreon.com/Pigville and you can give us $1 a month, and that really, really helps us. Go to olderfilm.com. That's where you can watch our film, Older the Movie, which just came out recently. It's a great film. It's getting great reviews. Everybody likes it. The big issue we have is that nobody has seen it. And so if you could go there and watch it, olderfilm.com.
To be fair, 500,000 people have seen it.
Yeah. I mean, a good amount of people have seen it, but in internet terms of internet revenue, not very many people have seen it. And so if you wanted to financially support us and this show, you can go and you can watch Older for free if you want to, or you can watch it, you can pay for it. You can go to Amazon Prime, you can go to Tubi. If you watch it on Tubi, you can watch it there. So it's all the links are there on olderfilm.com. And you can watch it for free and yet still support us financially, which is a whole new world. It's a pretty amazing time to be alive, actually. You can also go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Pigville and the number 2. And that, again, anything you watch there, most of it is monetized, and that helps us. And all you're doing is watching videos, enjoying our content, and we are getting paid. And so that makes a big difference to us. Also, hitting thumbs up wherever you are, writing a nice positive review. This all really helps, and also going and finding our other YouTube channel, which is the Guy and Harley podcast, and watching our videos there, because we're trying to get the 4,000 hours up. So once we reach 4,000 hours of view time, we can monetize this channel, and then every episode will be sitting here getting paid, and that really makes it a lot more sustainable for us over the long term. So all of those things are great ways to support us, and other than that, I would like to say thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you next week from this awesome studio, which I'm very happy with.
You're welcome.
Oh, well done, Guy. Well done. Well done, because the studio is awesome. It's the second Pigville Productions studio. The first one was in my room several years ago, but this one is superior to my one. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
All right.